Chapter 317. Looking at the pile of spirit fruits and spirit flowers that Li Kuei and the others had stuffed into Xiao Budian's arms, Zhu Yi moved his stiff neck and gasped, "Master, although I still don't quite understand what you mean by these two new concepts, but..." He unhappily glared at the little guy. "However, looking at little junior brother, I seem to understand a little." Lin Feng smiled and came in front of Xiao Budian, looking at him with a smile. Xiao Budian saw Lin Feng and smiled innocently. He used mana to transmit his voice to Lin Feng. "Master, I have completed the mission." Lin Feng smiled faintly and also used mana to transmit his voice to him. "Yes, I also got some other benefits." Xiao Budian chuckled. "Accident? It was a complete accident. It was a pure surprise. I didn't expect those sisters to be so kind. If Hong Yan knew that you were lying to her, what do you think would happen?" Lin Feng looked at Xiao Budian in amusement. Xiao Budian smiled awkwardly. "But master, I was really seriously injured. I didn't fake it at all." Of course, he didn't fake it at all. Otherwise, even if he could fool others, he wouldn't be able to fool Chao Wei and the others. The little guy looked at Lin Feng pitifully. "Master, it really hurts." Lin Feng said snappily, "Who asked you to use such a stupid method? Serves you right." Although he said that, Lin Feng still sent out a purple gas to envelop Xiao Budian, using his own mana to nourish his injured body. On the other side, Chao Wei's voice came. "If you bet, you must be willing to lose. This is what you, Shenmen Tianzong, deserve." Lin Feng turned around and saw three things floating in front of him under Chao Wei's mana. They were the Earth Flame Lotus, the 9 Revolutions Ice Orchid, and the Vermilion Flame Ice Flower that Mu Jihai had just lost to Xiao Budian. Lin Feng nodded and accepted the 3 items without a trace of politeness. Chao Wei said indifferently, "With this, we're even." "Yes, that's right." Lin Feng revealed an imperceptible smile. On the other side, Mu Jihai returned to the Celestial Pool Sect's camp. His seniors and fellow disciples looked at him, but they didn't mock him. Most of them just felt sorry for him. The strength that Mu Jihai had displayed before was worthy of their respect. In terms of the battle situation, it was not that Mu Jihai had no hope of winning. It could even be said that he was only half a step away from victory. However, Xiao Budian was far more determined and valiant than others had imagined. Mu Jihai's mood was not much better. To his sensitive heart, the pity of others made him feel worse than ridicule, as if reminding him, "You still can't make it in the end. No matter how close you are to success, you still fall in front of the finish line." At this time, someone suddenly said, "Although senior brother Mu lost, it can also be seen that the Shenmen Tianzong disciples are not truly strong to the point of being invincible. They still have their limits. If it was senior brother Song who went up, he would definitely win." Song Qingyuan smiled when he heard this, not saying anything. But the confidence that was revealed from his expression made all of the Celestial Pool Sect disciples believe that he had this certainty and confidence. If there's nothing else new, then the 2 people from Shenmen Tianzong, Zhu Yi and Shi Tianhao, I'm not afraid. Song Qingyuan's gaze was calm, looking towards the dragon concealing pot. Next is the last person. The 2 stepped onto the field, walking towards the dragon concealing pot together. One was the Celestial Lightsword Sect's Zhao Yan, the other was the Great Qin Dynasty's Jiao Junshin. On Shenmen Tianzong's side, Zhu Yi's gaze also fell on Jiao Junshin. He slightly tilted his head. "Tunten, the Celestial Lightsword Sect's Zhao Yan, how is his strength?" On the cloud-traversing peak trip, because Zhu Yi had to stay on Jade Capital Mountain to teach the new second-generation disciples, he did not accompany them. Zhu Yi had heard of the fight between Xiao Budian and Zhao Yan, but did not know the specifics of the situation. Among the people that were present, Xiao Yan was not present at this moment. Xiao Budian was currently recovering under the care of Lin Feng. Yu Hongyan's cultivation level was on the low side, and there were some details that could not be seen. Therefore, Zhu Yi asked Tunten. Although Tunten was a little unreliable, it was not the slightest bit vague on such matters, straightforwardly saying, "If compared to the people present now, with the strength they have already displayed as a reference, they can't compare to Huan Ming and Mu Jihai, but they have the strength to fight against those 2. Compared to Tao Yaoyao and Song Qingyuan, they have no chance at all. After a slight pause, Tunton added, unless he has some kind of major breakthrough in this month. Zhu Yi faintly nodded, looking towards the glowing figure projected from the mouth of the hidden dragon pot. There, Zhao Junchen and Zhao Yan had already begun to exchange blows. Zhao Yan was still the Celeritas Sword Sect's signature sword master, the flowing cloud sword. Sword light and sword qi alternated between each other, changing unpredictably, both agile and ferocious. As for Zhao Junchen, he had a bye in the first round, directly advancing to the top 16. Before this, no one had seen him truly fight. His battle with Zhao Yan was his first battle in this spell gathering. The spectators were clearly even more interested in the famous Zhao Junchen. They wanted to see just what was so special about this new scholar of the Qin dynasty. Please give me some pointers, friend Zhao. Zhao Junchen cupped his hands together in front of Zhao Yan's flowing cloud sword, before his foot lightly paused. As his foot paused, mist suddenly surged in the sky, lifting his entire body up. With a light turn, he easily avoided Zhao Yan's sword light. Zhao Yan was faintly startled, his sword aura changing. The sword light similarly transformed into mist, wanting to capture Zhao Junchen's agile figure. But who would have guessed that Zhao Junchen would step on the clouds, drawing an incomparably mysterious trajectory in the air, directly passing through the cracks in Zhao Yan's mist sword qi. Outside the hidden dragon pot, the expressions of all the Celeritas Sword Sect sword cultivators changed slightly. Even Tao Yaoyao and the few Yuaning stage ancestors had grave expressions. Zhao Yan's flowing cloud sword had already received the Celeritas Sword Sect's inheritance, and was incomparably skilled in it. His sword light transformed into qi. After forming mist, it sprinkled out, covering the sky and covering the earth, without any gaps. If there really was a crack in the mist sword qi, then it was naturally formed by the flow of magic power. But this crack was so tiny that it was almost undetectable. But Zhao Junchen was like a knife cutting a cow, finding this tiny crack. Not mentioning finding the crack, Zhao Junchen also extremely accurately cut into the crack. His movements were light and smooth, calm and content, not touching the mist sword qi on both sides of the crack in the slightest. Just like that, he unimpeded killed his way in front of Zhao Yan. The others also looked at Zhao Junchen in shock. Those present were all knowledgeable people and could see that Zhao Yan's flowing cloud sword was already quite perfect, but it was so easily broken through by Zhao Junchen. As Zhao Junchen advanced on the clouds, there was the indistinct cry of a bird. This sound contained a mysterious magic power, also suppressing the changes in Zhao Yan's flowing cloud sword. Seeing Zhao Junchen attack, Zhao Yan actually already knew that things were not good. He wanted to once again cause the sword light to change, but because of the cry of the bird, he discovered that his magic power had become sluggish. By the time the sword technique changed, he was already a beat too slow. And at this moment, Zhao Junchen had already cut into Zhao Yan's sword aura. As he brushed past Zhao Yan, he suddenly turned sideways, making a posture of drawing a bow and knocking an arrow. Then a white light shot towards Zhao Yan like an arrow. In this critical moment, Zhao Yan mobilized all the sword qi in his body, turning it into the cloud cover fog, dark wind and rain, sword technique that specialized in defense. However, Zhao Junchen didn't just shoot one white arrow. Instead, he shot 4 arrows in a row. After the first arrow, he immediately shot 3 more arrows, one after the other, bombarding the same point in a continuous stream. This piercing tactic that focused on one point immediately displayed its effect. It actually forcefully pierced through Zhao Yan's cloud cover fog, dark wind and rain, sword aura. Zhao Yan's complexion changed. He immediately tried to repair the hole in his sword aura. His reaction was fast, and his magic power quickly revolved. The hole that Zhao Junchen had pierced through was quickly repaired. But in this short moment, Zhao Junchen shot out another arrow. It was as fast as lightning, and the arrow had already pierced through the hole in Zhao Yan's sword aura, striking Zhao Yan's vital point. The hidden dragon pot spell activated at this moment. In just a short moment, Zhao Yan had been defeated. The spectators outside the pot all stared blankly at the scene in front of them. They did not think that this match would actually be decided so easily. This match was the shortest among the 8 matches of the second round, other than Li Kuyin taking the initiative to admit defeat. The speed was so fast that Zhao Yan himself was somewhat unable to react. He was even somewhat at a loss. Have already lost? The people of the Cellerita's sword sect were even more tongue-tied. Admittedly, Zhao Yan, who was unable to use the Yuanying stage magic item, the Heavenly Talisman Sword Seal, was not in his strongest state. But just based on his own cultivation, he was also a powerhouse among the late stages of the Golden Elixir. But he was defeated so easily. In the eyes of all the spectators, Zhao Junshan's victory came too easily. The gaze that Tao Yaoyao looked at Zhao Junshan with suddenly became as blazing as the sun. The vigorous battle intent made the fellow sect disciples beside her retreat far away. Song Qingyuan's expression became much more serious, secretly saying in his heart, "Who would have thought that the biggest enemy is not Xianmen Tianzong, but this Zhao Junshan?" When Zhao Junshan came out from the hidden dragon pot, the entire venue sunk into silence. Zhao Yan was defeated very quickly, but that was not because Zhao Yan was too weak. There was only one reason. Zhao Junshan was too strong. Strong to the point that he simply could not be measured using the strength of Golden Elixir period cultivators anymore. On Xianmen Tianzong's side, Zhu Yi looked at Zhao Junshan in silence, but his gaze was unprecedentedly bright. Yang Qing frowned slightly. That spell that Zhao Junshan used just now, what was that all about? Yu Hongyan shook his head. I don't understand. I just felt that the appearance of him stepping on the flowing clouds was like riding a carriage. Your feeling is correct. Lin Feng calmly said, this person's Dao techniques originate from the ancient Confucian sects, and his divine abilities and spells are comprehended from the 6 arts of Confucianism: ceremony, music, archery, control, calligraphy, and mathematics. The spell that he used to defeat Zhao Yan just now was the combination of archery and control. Chapter 318. 6 Arts. Yu Hongyan, Yang Qing, Tunten, and even Zhuge Fengling were slightly taken aback. Lin Feng smiled and did not speak. Zhu Yi came back to his senses and answered for Lin Feng. Just as Master said, Zhao Junshan's techniques are derived from the 6 arts of Confucianism, also known as the 6 arts of the gentleman. They are ritual, music, archery, imperial, calligraphy, and number. Ritual refers to etiquette, music refers to music, archery refers to archery, imperial is driving a carriage. In ancient times, scholars did not sit in a sedan or ride a horse, but drove a carriage. Zhu Yi explained for the others, calligraphy refers to literature and also refers to calligraphy, number refers to arithmetic and number theory knowledge. Slowly, Zhu Yi said, in ancient times, these 6 arts were thought to be the 6 skills that scholars should master. At that time, Confucian students were not the least bit related to bookworms who did not have the strength to truss a chicken. They would not be ridiculed for not being diligent in the 4 limbs and not being able to distinguish between the 5 grains. They were far from what some of today's bookworms could achieve. He looked at Zhao Junshan, who had come out of the hidden dragon pot and returned to the Qin dynasty's camp. He said softly, this person comprehended the principles of the 6 arts and comprehended his own techniques. It is quite ancient. Yang Qing also looked at Zhao Junshan. Master just said that the technique that Zhao Junshan used to defeat Zhao Yan was the combination of archery and imperial? Zhu Yi said, yes, there are 5 types of imperial: Mingyi Luan, chasing water chariot, passing monarch watch, dancing on the thoroughfare, and chasing bird left. At the start, Zhao Junshan controlled the cloud chariot to dodge Zhao Yan's sword attack. It should have been derived from the chasing water chariot. The chasing water chariot can gallop along the river without falling into the water. It is the most dexterous. After that, he followed the fine cracks of Zhao Yan's misty sword qi and drove straight in. It was like dancing on the thoroughfare, passing through narrow passageways with ease. The carriage is accompanied by the sound of a luan bird, suppressing the changes in Zhao Yan's sword art. The cry of a luan bird and the sound of a carriage correspond to the sound of a luan bird. Finally, he cut into Zhao Yan's sword energy. When he brushed past Zhao Yan, He suddenly drew his bow and shot an arrow. This is called chasing birds to the left, which means that when hunting, one chases a bird and shoots it down from the left. Zhu Yi explained in one breath, analyzing the changes in Jiao Junshan's previous spells one by one. And at the same time that he cast chasing bird left, he perfectly combined shooting and defending. There are 5 types of riding and 5 types of shooting. They are the white arrow, Sanlian, Shanzhu, Xiangqi, and Jing. Jiao Junshan's first arrow is a series of arrows, releasing 1 arrow at the front, followed by 3 arrows in a row. The arrows are connected to each other, like a string of pearls. Only by shooting 4 arrows in a row can he break through Zhao Yan's defense. And following that, he immediately used the Shanzhu, which is also rapid shooting. The speed of the arrows, the aiming time is short, the arrow is loaded and released. But it doesn't lose its aim, accurately shooting through the gap that was opened with the series of arrows before, finally defeating Zhao Yan. Speaking up to here, Zhu Yi paused a bit before continuing. Apart from the exquisite spell, his mana is equally vigorous. Even if it's aimed at a single point, breaking through the Celerita's sword sex cloud shrouding fog, wind and rain as dark sword energy with 4 arrows is also not something that an ordinary person can do. Zhu Yi did not use mana to transmit to Yu Hongyan and the others, nor did he purposefully lower the volume of his words. Therefore his explanation before could be heard by everyone in the spell conference. Only until now did many people's faces reveal a look of sudden understanding. Before, when Jiao Junshan and Zhao Yan fought, the process didn't seem complicated and the duration was also very short. But even Zhao Yan himself lost bafflingly. Many people were even more confused watching. But after going through Zhu Yi's clear analysis step by step, everyone finally understood just how Jiao Junshan defeated Zhao Yan before. The group of people's gazes all looked towards Jiao Junshan, only to see that Jiao Junshan's face didn't have the slightest hint of anger. Instead he was pleasantly surprised, looking at Zhu Yi and repeatedly nodding his head. Right now I really can't wait to spar with you. This is equivalent to directly admitting that Zhu Yi's analysis is correct. After Tao Yaoyao heard this, she unhappily glanced at Zhao Yan behind her. Do you understand how he lost? Zhao Yan had a bitter smile on his face, repeatedly nodding his head. I understand, I understand. If I had listened to head senior sister's words earlier and concentrated on learning instant sword escape, I wouldn't have lost so badly. Tao Yaoyao glared. Nonsense, it's a sure win. The surrounding people couldn't help but secretly laugh when they saw Zhao Yan being lectured like a grandson by Tao Yaoyao. Lin Feng also smiled in spite of himself, but in his heart he was sure that Tao Yaoyao wasn't speaking without thinking. Instant sword escape is the Celerita's sword sex top sword Dao, even above the cloud-traversing sword. Its speed is extremely fast, flying over thousands of mountains and rivers in an instant. It is the fastest sword Dao under the heavens other than Mount Shu's Shaozi sword artifact. It is equally famous as the Heavenly Sword Sex Heavenly Sword Escape. In terms of close-distance sprinting speed, it is even above the Heavenly Sword Escape. Among the sword arts, only Mount Shu's Shaozi sword artifact can compare. The difference is that Mount Shu's Shaozi sword artifact pierces through space, while the Celerita's sword sex instant sword escape incorporates a bit of the profound concept of time. Instant and eternity, one is the shortest, the other the longest, respectively representing the 2 extremities of time. Being able to completely comprehend these two, one can also comprehend the true meaning of time. And the concept of the power of instant is also the foundation of the Celerita's sword sex sword arts. When Tao Yaoyao defeated the Sun-Moon sword sect pair of sword companions 1 against 2 earlier, she executed instant sword escape, using speed to fight slow, truly displaying the tactic of unbreakable speed to the extreme, forcibly breaking the Sun-Moon sword sex dual sword amalgamation. Even though Lin Feng was thinking about his own matters at that time, he was multitasking and also paying attention to the process of the spell assembly. Seeing Tao Yaoyao's sword art, his eyes also lit up. Instant sword escape is the Celerita's sword sex trump card. Lin Feng thought in his heart, even though Tao Yaoyao said that Zhao Yan can steadily defeat Jiao Junshan after cultivating instant sword escape, This is clearly impossible. But with instant sword escape, Zhao Yan at least has the strength to fight Zhao Junshin. After all, the strength that Zhao Junshin had displayed before was most likely only the tip of the iceberg. After hearing Tao Yaoyao's words, Zhao Junshin only smiled slightly. Even if Zhao Yan cultivated instant sword escape, he would still not be his match. At most, it would be more troublesome for him to win. If it was Tao Yaoyao personally going up against him, Zhao Junshin would only take it seriously. Those who can enter the top 8 will not be weak. Shi Xingyun said with a smile at the side, other than Sister Yao Yao and Zhu Yi, it's very likely that I'll be in the same group as you. Zhao Junshin smiled. Among the 7 people, the opponent that I want to meet the most is Zhu. Next is you. Tao Yaoyao and Song Qingyun are both ranked behind you. Shi Xingyun shook her head and could not help but laugh. However, speaking of which, Zhu Yi is indeed the most suitable opponent for you. I really want to see how the two of you fight. On the Shenmen Tianzong side, Zhu Yi did not say much after analyzing the profoundness of Zhao Junshin's techniques. Yu Hongyan glanced at him and asked, "Second senior brother, a bystander has a clearer view of things. You can clearly analyze Zhao Junshin's movements now, but can you still do the same when you're in his shoes?" Yu Hongyan's expression was solemn. She had no intention of challenging Zhu Yi. Instead, she was genuinely worried. Zhu Yi did not misunderstand her good intentions. His expression remained calm as he said frankly, "I can't do it. In fact, when I first saw him fighting Zhao Yan, I couldn't see through him at first. In the beginning, I could only see that the foundation of his techniques is the shooting and defense of the 6 arts. As for the specifics, he only figured it out after the outcome of his battle with Zhao Yan was decided." A glimmer flickered in Zhu Yi's eyes as he calmly said, "If I fought him before his battle with Zhao Yan, then in actual combat, I'm afraid that I wouldn't be able to divert my attention to slowly ponder. The outcome of the battle would be hard to predict. However, there's no need to worry now because I already have a rough idea of his background. Even if he hasn't used the ritual, music, calligraphy, and mathematics arts of the 6 arts, I can roughly guess what they are like." Zhu Yi faintly smiled. "Even if there are new tricks outside of the 6 arts, I have a rough idea in my heart. If I fight him right now, I won't be as flustered as the Celerita sword sex Zhao Yan. However, this person's strength is indeed very strong. I have confidence in myself, but I can't easily say that I'll win." Following Zhao Junshin's defeat of Zhao Yan, the second round of the Golden Elixir period's cultivator competition came to an end. The final 8 were also determined. Zhu Yi, Gu Lei, Shi Xingyun, Tao Yaoyao, the Sun Moon Sword sex Li Dongtao and Yun Mei's sword companion duo, Song Qingyuan, Xiao Budian, and Zhao Junshin were the final 8 lineup. Shenmen Tianzong and the host Great Qin dynasty both occupied 2 spots, once again becoming the focus of the audience. With the top 8 confirmed, the third round of drawing lots also began. It was still presided over by Lord Changle. Everyone's attention was focused on the copper bottle in front of Lord Changle. Lin Feng was no exception. To him, it didn't matter which opponent his sect's disciples drew, as long as they didn't draw together with his own people it was fine. Previously when he was at the foundation establishment stage, Yang Qing and Yu Hongyan being drawn together was really a pain in the ass matter. Lin Feng stared at the copper bottle and thought to himself, if possible, it's best to be in the same group as the Tianqi sect. Lord Changle quickly drew the first name tag, which immediately caused a slight uproar, because the first one to be drawn was Xiao Budian. Many people's eyes fell on Xiao Budian, who was shrouded in purple qi, beside Lin Feng. Li Kuyin and Shi Xingyun even showed a touch of worry on their faces. Being the first to be chosen meant that he would be the first to go up and compete. Xiao Budian had a bloody battle with Mu Jihai before and his injuries were not light. Even with Lin Feng taking care of him, whether or not he could recover to his peak condition was also unknown. In this case, it was natural for him to rest for a while, which was more conducive to his recovery, but now he had to be the first to compete. Immediately after, Xiao Budian's opponent was also drawn. It was the Sun Moon Sword sex sword companion duo, Li Dongtao and Yun Mei. With the strength of these two, Any one of them would be the best among the late-stage golden elixir cultivators. Now that they were fighting together, the power of the two swords had greatly increased, making people break out in cold sweat for Xiao Budian. The following matches were quickly drawn. The second match was between Song Qingyuan and Gu Lei, while the third match was between Tao Yaoyao and Shi Xingyun. At this moment, the fourth group had a result without drawing lots. It was a combination that caused all the cultivators present to be in an uproar. Xianmen Tianzong and Zhu Yi against Great Qin Dynasty's Jiao Junshin. Chapter 319. The competition between the cultivators in the Golden Elixir period of the Desolate Sea Assembly had reached the third round. Those who could enter the top 8 were not easy to deal with. At this point, it was hard to predict who would win and who would lose. Not to mention the low-level cultivators, even people like Lin Feng, Chao Wei, and Shi Zongyue could not say for sure, because the strength of the two sides was very close. There was only a thin line between victory and defeat. In terms of pure strength, the gap was very small. At least, it was not a decisive factor. The psychological quality, battle strategy, and state of mind of the two sides were the key to victory. Absolute strength no longer existed. But among the 4 matches in the quarterfinals, the most attention-grabbing match was the one between Zhu Yi and Jiao Junshin. One was Xianmen Tianzong, who came from the assembly and had never tasted defeat, and the other easily defeated his opponent in the competition that had just ended. In addition, the two of them had similar temperaments, causing everyone to be filled with anticipation for this match. There were even some busybodies who called this match an early final, believing that the winner would eventually crush all the other matches and obtain first place. This statement may be a bit extreme, but it also fully showed that the majority of the people thought highly of Zhu Yi and Jiao Junshin. However, among the disciples of Xianmen Tianzong, the first to appear was not Zhu Yi, but Tiny Tot. Lin Feng withdrew his mana, revealing Tiny Tot, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. At this moment, there were no visible injuries on his body, but his spirit was still a bit weak and dispirited. Shi Zongyue, Dao Master Changlu, and Zhuge Guang looked at each other with a somewhat complicated expression. Tiny Tot's previous injuries were extremely serious. Not to mention that he was on the verge of death, it would take a long time for him to recover. Even if there was a mighty primordial spirit to treat him, it would not be able to recover to such a state in a short period of time. Is it the effect of the Taiyin True Water, or is his cultivation and mana so terrifying? Dao Master Zhuge Guang frowned slightly and transmitted his voice to Shi Zongyue through mana. Shi Zongyue shook his head slightly. I can't. The worry in Dao Master Changlu and Zhuge Guang's eyes deepened when they heard this. Although there were primordial divinity realm cultivators from each family present at the Barren Sea Assembly, there was no doubt that the strongest person was Shi Zongyue, the Great Qin Dynasty's King of Tranquility. Even Shi Zongyue couldn't see through Lin Feng, and he didn't even understand how he cured Tiny Tot. This made Dao Master Chang'e and Zhuge Guang's psychological evaluation of Lin Feng go up another level. When Shi Zongyue and the others thought of how the great Zhou Empire's Minister of Internal Affairs, Mei Wulong, had come to congratulate them on their first opening ceremony in Xianmen Tianzong, Shi Zongyue and the others felt their hearts sink. On the other side, Lin Feng did not know that there were so many thoughts going through the minds of the 3 essence soul experts of the Great Qin Dynasty. He was currently instructing his disciple. Tianhao, before the assembly started, Shi Xingyun came over to greet you. Lin Feng patted Tiny Tot's shoulder. Do you remember what she said at the time? As he said this, Lin Feng's gaze swept across Zhu Yi and the others. Tiny Tot and Zhu Yi looked at each other and replied. She once said that among the cultivators in the Golden Elixir period, there are 3.5 who can fight against me and second senior brother. Jiao Junshin counts as one, Celerita's sword sex Tao Yaoyao counts as another. Tiny Tot paused and looked in the direction of the Sun Moon Sword sect. There's a pair of sword companions in the Sun Moon Sword sect. Together, they count as one. Lastly, Shi Xingyun counts as half. Zhu Yi said plainly, she's clearly being modest when she says she counts as half. Among the cultivators in the Golden Elixir period in this assembly, apart from little junior brother, Only she and Jiao Junshin can truly give me pressure. He also looked in the direction of the Sun-Moon Sword sect. As for the pair of sword companions in the Sun-Moon Sword sect, they must be referring to those two. Tiny Tot's next opponents were the pair of disciples from the Sun-Moon Sword sect, Li Dongtao and Yun Mei. Both of them were in the late stage of the Golden Elixir period. In the previous round of 16, they had defeated a pair of cultivators from the Hua clan. Due to their magical abilities, the Hua clan's combat abilities were very strong. In an environment like the Hidden Dragon Pot where they could fight freely, their abilities were very outstanding. However, they had always been unlucky. Whether it was in the Foundation establishment stage or the Golden Elixir period, most of the disciples from the Hua clan had run into Xianmen Tianzong's guns and became stepping stones for Zhu Yi, Wang Lin, and the others. Even so, the battle between Hua Ming and Hua Chen and Zhu Yi's group was also very fierce. It fully displayed their powerful combat abilities and did not allow others to underestimate them at all. However, in the previous battle with Li Dongtao and Yun Mei, the pair of disciples from the Hua clan had suffered a crushing defeat. During the battle, Li Dongtao and Yun Mei had displayed abilities that surpassed the other disciples from the Sun-Moon Sword sect. The Eclipse Sword art and the Full Moon Divine Light Sword derived from the Sun and Moon dual swords complemented each other and had boundless power. Tao Yaoyao's feat of defeating the other pair of sword companions from the Sun-Moon Sword sect by herself was dazzling, but anyone with a discerning eye could tell that if she had drawn Li Dongtao and Yun Mei as her opponent, it would have been very difficult to say who would have won. Zhu Yi glanced at Xiao Budian and said to Lin Feng, "Master, Junior Brother's injuries have not healed. I'll go with him this time." Lin Feng smiled. "You've already obtained the qualifications to enter the ancient desolate sea world. Leave the opportunity to others." Zhu Yi and the others were taken aback. Then, everyone's gazes fell on Tunten. Of everyone present, Zhu Yi, Yu Hongyan, and Yang Qing had all obtained the qualifications to enter the ancient desolate sea world. Even Zhuge Fengling had hitched a ride with Yu Hongyan. The only exception was the little Taorai, Tunten. Tunten pointed at the tip of its nose. "Me." Lin Feng smiled. "Of course it's you." He patted Tunten's little head. "Also, you'll be the one to fight this round. Tianhao is just here to make up the numbers." Xiao Budian's big black eyes turned and he chuckled. "Master, you're adding fuel to the fire." Lin Feng smiled. He pinched the heads of the two little fellows and turned their bodies around. Then he gently pushed their backs. "Go, the delicacies in the ancient desolate sea world are waiting for you." Tunten's eyes lit up. "I've long heard that there are many delicious things in the ancient desolate sea world. It's a pity that I never had the chance to go in. This is indeed a good opportunity." The cultivators of the various factions looked curiously at Tunten, who was walking side by side with Xiao Budian towards the Hidden Dragon Pot. Tunten's appearance after transforming into human form was a little older than when Lin Feng first saw her, but she was still only 5 or 6 years old. She looked even younger than Xiao Budian. Everyone could not help but feel extremely curious. Many people could not see through Tunten's cultivation and thought to themselves, could it be that Xianmen Tianzong is going to fight 1 against 2 again? With the previous record of Yu Hongyan and Tao Yaoyao, the spectators lamented in their hearts, "What's wrong with the world now? It's as if you're too embarrassed to call yourself an expert if you don't fight 2 against the twin sword harmony that destroyed the Sun-Moon Sword sect." However, outstanding cultivators like Tao Yaoyao and Shi Xingyun could vaguely sense the terrifying power contained in Tunten's young body. Those with sharp senses could even tell that the power undulations were not from a human cultivator, but similar to the demonic power of the demon race. The Yuanying stage ancestors with higher cultivation frowned. Demon race and a pure-blooded Taotai at that? Shi Zongyue also looked at Lin Feng. "Sect leader Lin, isn't it inappropriate to send a demon race to participate in the Dharma assembly?" In the current Great Heaven primordial world, the human race and the demon race were on opposing sides, and many wars had broken out between them in history. Since the last war between the two worlds, the two races had entered a period of recuperation. Conflicts still existed, but they were not as intense as before. Only near the spatial crack connecting the divine land and infinite wasteland would there be bloody fights. Many human cultivation factions had the habit of raising demonic beasts and spirit beasts, and there was no lack of demon kings among them. In the dragon pool of Taishu Temple, there was even a great saint dragon with an indestructible demonic soul. However, generally speaking, human cultivators did not treat these demonic beasts as equals. Most of the demon race were seen as mounts, weapons, and a source of cultivation materials. It was similar to how mortals domesticated and raised hunting dogs, cows, sheep, and horses. Lin Feng was also well aware of this, but if it was not to send Tunten and Zhuge Fengling into the ancient desolate sea world, why would he suggest that the Sun Moon Sword sect could send 2 people to fight? This demon is also my in-name disciple. Lin Feng said indifferently, there is nothing wrong with participating in the Dharma assembly. I also don't need her to compete from the first round. I will not squeeze out other people's spots. King Anliang, please make an exception. Sword Venerable Flowing Light frowned slightly. Although she is an in-name disciple, as the sect leader, your identity is extraordinary. Are you sure you want to accept a demon as a disciple? Lin Feng chuckled. If I remember correctly, 10,000 years ago, among the 6 personal disciples of the Celeritas Sword sect's 4th-generation sect leader, 2 of them were from the demon race. However, in the end, they made an indelible contribution to the development and growth of the Celeritas Sword sect. Sword Venerable Flowing Light was speechless. After the Celeritas Sword sect deliberately downplayed this part of history, very few people knew about it. Even the disciples of the sect knew very little about it. He did not expect that Lin Feng would actually know about it. Without waiting for the others to speak, Lin Feng's gaze landed on Chao Wei. I remember that in the history of the Heavenly Pool sect, there was a demon Venerable Snow Mountain who was a transformation of an Arctic demon bear? Chao Wei snorted and did not speak. Education without discrimination has existed since ancient times. It is a very normal thing. Lin Feng's gaze swept across the other primordial spirit big shots, making them shudder with fear. For a long time, the human race and the demon race were not always opposing each other. There were also times when they got along harmoniously. Although they were mainly hostile, who could guarantee that they did not have a dark history? It was just that these were all old matters, unlike Lin Feng, who was almost committing crimes against the wind. However, Lin Feng only said that Tunten was an in-name disciple. Let alone a personal disciple, it was not even an official disciple. Everyone could not pester him. The group of primordial spirit big shots pinched their noses and endured. The people below naturally had nothing to say. They could only have strange expressions on their faces as they watched Tunten and Xiao Budian enter the hidden dragon pot together. Fortunately, the system has historical information on most sections. As long as it is not an internal secret, it can be found. Lin Feng also stared at Tunten and Xiao Budian. The opportunity is given to you. You have to work hard. Chapter 320. After watching Tunten and Tiny Tot walk towards the hidden dragon pot, Yang Qing suddenly came to her senses. She looked at Zhu Yi with a hesitant expression. Zhu Yi turned around and asked, "What's wrong?" "Fifth junior brother, you can speak your mind." Yang Qing smiled embarrassedly. "Second senior brother, I feel that Song Qingyuan from the Celestial Pool sect performed very well too." "Not bad indeed." Zhu Yi nodded calmly. Based on the strength that he displayed during the spell gathering, he could even be ranked in the top 3. However, the pressure that he gave me was indeed not as great as that of Jiao Junchen and Shi Xingyun. After a pause, Zhu Yi continued, "It was purely a spiritual feeling." Both Yang Qing and Yu Hongyan were at a loss. Lin Feng then said indifferently, "The spiritual feeling that your second senior brother was talking about is not something mysterious or psychological." When he was observing others, there were some details that triggered his thoughts and caught his attention. Perhaps he did not figure out the principle behind it and did not realize the crux of it, but he did discover some clues. Zhu Yi suddenly turned around and said, "Master, you mean?" Lin Feng smiled and nodded. "Your feeling is correct. Although Song Qingyuan had displayed great strength during the Golden Elixir period, he had also revealed some flaws. He was not as invulnerable as Shi Xingyun and Jiao Junchen. That's why you felt that he was not as threatening as Shi Xingyun and Jiao Junchen. Zhu Yi fell into deep thought. This woman, Shi Xingyun, is not someone who would speak without thinking. The great Qin dynasty's intelligence agency must have a certain level of control over Song Qingyuan's situation. Under such circumstances, the reason why she excluded Song Qingyuan from her list of opponents might be because she has a card up her sleeve. Lin Feng didn't say anything. He glanced at the Tianqi sect's camp and thought to himself, there are still not many things that can be seen from this battle. I think the battle between him and Gu Lei from the Purple Cloud sect will be able to verify my guess. At this moment, inside the hidden dragon pot, the Sun Moon Sword sect disciples Li Dongtao and Yun Mei were curiously studying Tunten. Before they entered, their sect elders had already informed them of Tunten's background and knew that it was a pure-blooded Tao. Yun Mei's gaze shifted back and forth between Tunten and Xiao Budian. A long while later, she suddenly smiled and said, "Senior brother, bring out your full strength. Even if you know they are very strong, it will still be very embarrassing if you lose." Li Dongtao lightly nodded, his gaze falling on Xiao Budian. "Your injuries have not healed, it's better not to force yourself." The little guy stuck out his little chest and said with emotion, "I'll do my best. Even if I lose, I won't regret it. I'll do my best." Although his face was still weak and pale, Xiao Budian's words were extremely heroic and immediately drew cheers from outside the hidden dragon pot. Even those who usually hoped that Xianmen Tianzong would lose cheered for his determination and bravery. On the contrary, Tunten, who was beside Xiao Budian, curled his lips and looked at him with a look of disdain. It was this guy who had secretly used his magic power to transmit a message to her before entering the hidden dragon pot. "I'll leave this battle to you. I'll just watch from the side." Now he was pretending to be a hero in front of outsiders. He really didn't know shame. "I'll hide to the side like Zhuge Fengling and see how you make a fool of yourself. In any case, you're injured now and can't outrun me." A treacherous smile appeared on Tunten's little face. While he was calculating in his mind, he suddenly saw Xiao Budian charge straight at Li Dongtao and Yun Mei with a loud shout. Tunten was immediately taken aback. "Am I seeing things? This little demon king, is he really going to fight with his opponent while injured?" At this moment, Xiao Budian's palms came together. Hurricanes and lightning were already violently swirling around his body as he clashed with Li Dongtao and Yun Mei. Li Dongtao let out a long roar and unfolded the glorious sun sword Wei. Like a rising sun, it shone with boundless radiance and met Xiao Budian's attack head-on. Within the rays of sunlight, Yun Mei's undetectable moonlight sword light was mixed in. Both of them cooperated seamlessly and had great tacit understanding. The sword light and magic power from both sides mutually stimulated each other, combining their powers to weave a sword light cage that was going to trap Xiao Budian inside. Xiao Budian was calm and unafraid. The power of endless wind and lightning continued to rise as he fought 1-against-2 against Li Dongtao and Yun Mei. Tunten blinked its eyes. Could it be that what he said before was just a joke? The little Taotai cautiously approached the battle and observed. Although Xiao Budian's heroic spirit reached the clouds, his injuries had not yet healed and he was firmly suppressed by Li Dongtao and Yun Mei. If he continued to increase his magic power, he might once again fall into a state of loss of control. At the same time, it would affect his old injuries, causing Xiao Budian to have many misgivings. Tunten's heart was beating like a drum. "If I just run away and hide now, it seems a little disloyal. More importantly, his master is watching from outside. If I don't help at all, I'm afraid I won't have a good time when I go out. Moreover, I must win to enter the ancient desolate sea world to find delicious food. If I lose, this little demon king will still be able to enter, but I won't be able to." In an instant, many thoughts flashed through Tunten's mind. In the end, it made a decision. I'll just stay by his side and assist him. I'll leave the main battle to him." Thinking of this, Tunten did not approach. It directly opened its mouth and used the swallow the heavens and devour the earth divine ability. There seemed to be a black hole in its mouth, and a huge suction force emerged from it, instantly sucking away a small portion of Li Dongtao and Yun Mei's sword light magic power. Tunten smacked its lips. The taste is not bad. Li Dongtao and Yun Mei were slightly startled. The Taotai race's swallow the heavens and devour the earth divine ability was rather famous, but it was extremely rare. Today was the first time the two had seen it, and they felt that it would be difficult to deal with. Yun Mei's sword light did not change much, but Li Dongtao's sword technique suddenly changed. The originally dazzling glorious sun sword way suddenly became dim, as if a heavenly dog had swallowed the sun. The sun instantly disappeared, and the land fell into darkness. In the air, there was only a faintly discernible ring flickering with weak light, like an annular solar eclipse. It was a variant of the glorious sun sword way, the eclipse sword technique. Li Dongtao's sword technique changed to the eclipse sword technique, while Yun Mei's sword technique was still the gorgeous moonlight sword way. The two sword light dimmed together. Tunten immediately felt that it could not absorb much of the opponent's magic power, as if the area in front of it had become empty. However, Xiao Budian took this opportunity to counterattack. When the opponent's sword force faded, he immediately advanced with his head held high. However, Li Dongtao and Yun Mei's sword force immediately erupted again after being temporarily restrained. Li Dongtao's sword force changed from the eclipse sword technique to the orthodox glorious sun sword way. Golden light flickered like the sun in the sky, illuminating the land. On the other hand, Yun Mei's sword move had changed from the traditional moonlight sword Dao to the full moon divine light sword Dao that was wide open and wide. The power and limelight was not the slightest bit weaker than Li Dongtao's sunlight sword Dao. A full moon rose into the sky, actually trying to compete with the sun for glory. The two sword arts did not follow the path of one main and one auxiliary this time. Instead, they weakened together when they were weak, and strengthened together when they were strong, instantly unleashing the most powerful explosive power. Xiao Budian, who had wanted to counterattack, immediately suffered a head-on blow. In the face of Li Dongtao's and Yun Mei's majestic sword light, Xiao Budian did not dare to hesitate. He immediately gave up on attacking and focused on defending himself. If he did not do so, he would immediately be turned into a sieve by the sword light. Even so, Xiao Budian was sent flying like a kite with its string cut by the Sun-Moon Sword Sect duo's counterattack. Li Dongtao's and Yun Mei's sword force had only just unfolded when wave after wave swept toward Xiao Budian and Tunten like a raging sea. Tunten was greatly alarmed. It took in a deep breath and activated the devouring the heavens and devouring the earth divine ability to forcibly devour Li Dongtao's and Yun Mei's sword light magic power. However, the opponents yin and yang complemented each other. The sun and moon seemed to be endless, causing Tunten to feel more and more pressure. Even if it's the Yuanying stage, such magic power is too powerful. The Sun-Moon Sword Sect's dual sword combination is too weak. At this critical moment, Tunten did not dare to hold back. He activated the true Sunfire with all his might and bombarded Li Dongtao's and Yun Mei's sword light. The true Sunfire's divine light continuously exploded, destroying one sword light after another. However, it was still unable to stop Li Dongtao's and Yun Mei's unceasing attacks. However, it had temporarily weakened the opponent's offensive and bought Tunten valuable time. The little Taotai suddenly took in a deep breath, and its little belly instantly became round. In the next instant, Tunten opened its mouth and made a gesture towards Li Dongtao and Yun Mei. The sun and moon sword light that Tunten had temporarily swallowed into its body with the devouring the heavens and devouring the earth divine ability was spat out, colliding head-on with Li Dongtao's and Yun Mei's follow-up attacks. The sun and moon sword light collided with the sun and moon sword light. The total amount of the sun and moon sword light that Tunten spat out was after all limited. It could not compare to the endless magic power of Li Dongtao and Yun Mei's sword light, but the instantaneous explosive power was superior. What a pity! Tunten sighed. But at least their offensive was interrupted. I should take advantage of this opportunity. While thinking, Tunten turned around and was about to slip away, but what she saw made her tear up. The last scene that remained on her retina was Xiao Budian's low-key and elegant back, disappearing into the depths of a dense forest in the pot world with a swoosh, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. At this moment, there seemed to be a bleak autumn wind blowing in the hidden dragon pot, leaving Tunton alone in the wind. She vaguely felt a row of crows flying over her head, and bursts of sharp laughter that seemed to be mocking her idiocy could be heard. The air froze at this moment, and time seemed to have come to a standstill. Tunton swallowed with difficulty, turned its head, and saw that Li Dongtao and Yun Mei's twin swords had joined together. Sword light sword once again, sweeping towards it from all directions. In their view, although Xiao Budian's actions were the same as Zhuge Fengling's, the strength of the two was completely incomparable. Li Dongtao and Yun Mei did not dare to think that Xiao Budian was slacking off, and would only think that he was really waiting for an opportunity to ambush them. The Sun-Moon Sword sect pair instantly made the same decision, which was to first concentrate all their strength on one person, and then finish off Tunton before dealing with Xiao Budian. Tunton was directly submerged in the boundless sea of sword light, and a shrill roar resounded throughout the hidden dragon pot. Shi Tianhao. Chapter 321. The spectators outside the hidden dragon pot praised in unison. The Taotai clan swallow the heavens and devour the earth is really powerful. Yes, but it's really unexpected that she possesses the true sunfire. There's nothing surprising about that. It must have been passed on to her by the master of the celestial gate. Everyone knows that Xianmen Tianzong has mastered the cultivation and manipulation method of the true sunfire. That's right, the head disciple of the Xian Gate sect master, Xiao Yan, simultaneously possesses the nether evil emperor and the true sunfire, the two great true fires. Speaking of which, he still hasn't come to participate in the spell gathering this time, otherwise the Xian Gate Sky sect would really have no one to stop him. In that case, the master of the Celestial Gate was not joking when he said that the pure-blooded Taotai was his disciple in name. It's true. Everyone was worried. The Celestial Sect of 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 the Celestial Sect is truly full of talents. What they did not know was that the majestic Tunton in their eyes was currently complaining incessantly in his heart, cursing the little guy's 8 generations of ancestors. She had used all the cursing words of the human race on the little guy several times. But no matter how mad Tunton was, she did not have the time to settle the score with Li Dongtao for the time being. All of her attention was focused on dealing with the tide-like attacks from Li Dongtao and Yun Mei's combined swords. Even with her Taotai body, she was somewhat unable to withstand the mighty sword light and magical power. Shi Tianhao, don't let me catch you. Otherwise, even with your master's protection, I will swallow you. Tunton gnashed her teeth in anger, completely forgetting that she had been planning to let the little guy take the blame. Outside the hidden dragon pot, Zhu Yi and the other disciples did not think much of it. In their view, the little guy was also hiding and looking for an opportunity. Unlike when Yu Hongyan fought against the Sun and Moon dual swords, Zhuge Fengling could not help at all. The little guy only needed to find the right opportunity to defeat the enemy and win. Moreover, he already had old injuries on his body. Adopting a guerrilla tactic with Tunton in the front to restrain the enemy was a very correct tactic. Only Lin Feng could vaguely guess that the little guy and Tunton had actually split up in the face of disaster, and were even mutually sabotaging each other. This made him secretly amused. The two of you are the perfect embodiment of what it means to not be afraid of a godlike opponent, but afraid of a pig-like teammate. In the hidden dragon pot, Tunton, Li Dongtao and Yun Mei were locked in a bitter battle. Most of their attention was placed on each other, making it impossible for anyone to find the little guy's whereabouts. However, the spectators outside the pot could see Xiao Budian's every move through the reflection of light from the mouth of the pot. Compared to the stalemate of the battle, many people had actually placed their attention on Xiao Budian. Obviously, Xiao Budian had the ability to break the balance of the battle. If there was a change in the battle, it should be on Xiao Budian's next move. On the purple cloud Dao's side, Li Kuan nervously watched Xiao Budian and asked Gu Lei, "What do you think he will do?" After pondering for a moment, Gu Lei slowly said, "It's hard to say. If it were me, I would first carefully hide my whereabouts, and then wait for Li Dongtao and Yun Mei to reveal a flaw, and then defeat them in one strike. After all, this little guy hiding will cause great psychological pressure on Li Dongtao and Yun Mei. Under anxiety and pressure, it's very difficult to remain calm and not make the slightest mistake. The slightest emotional fluctuation could affect the overall situation, especially when the Sun and Moon Sword Sex dual sword combination requires extreme tacit understanding and telepathy. On the Great Qin Dynasty's side, Shi Xingyun and Zhao Junshin were also exchanging their opinions. Actually, there's no need to go through so much trouble. Zhao Junshin said disapprovingly, with the combined strength of Shi Tianhao and that Taotai, they will only be stronger than the Sun and Moon twin swords. They have a higher chance of winning in a head-on fight. Shi Xingyun stared at the dragon concealment pot and slowly said, "Perhaps, Tianhao's injuries are much more serious than we guessed. Even with the help of the master of the celestial sect, he still can't solve the problem from the root." Zhao Junshin's expression changed slightly. "You mean to say that although he looks like he's mostly recovered, it's actually just an illusion?" "I'm also not sure, but at least, if he fights the Sun and Moon twin swords head-on like you said, it's very likely that his injuries will relapse." Shi Xingyun thought for a bit and said cautiously, "It's also possible that he wants to preserve his strength as much as possible in preparation for the upcoming spell gathering. Since that Taotai only needs to fight this one battle, there's no harm in releasing all of his strength. There's no need to hold back at all." On the Celerida's sword sex side, Zhao Yan similarly looked towards Tao Yaoyao in confusion. "First senior sister, what will he do next?" Dressed in white, Tao Yaoyao shrugged her shoulders. "No matter what he wants to do next, in the end it will all come down to one point, and that is to cut off the connection between Li Dongtao and Yun Mei. This is the most effective and most fundamental way to break the twin swords combination. Once the two are unable to establish a connection and the twin swords combination is broken, then in the end they're nothing more than two comparatively outstanding late-stage golden elixir cultivators, and not like now, able to challenge Yuanying stage cultivators. As someone who personally accomplished the feat of 1 versus 2, defeating a pair of Sun and Moon Sword Sect sword companions, Tao Yaoyao's evaluation of the Sun and Moon Sword Sect's twin swords combination was undoubtedly very convincing to the surrounding people. In the battle before, Tao Yaoyao used the speed advantage of her instant sword escape to continuously fight with speed, making her opponents unable to take care of both front and back, unable to maintain their inherent rhythm and tacit understanding. As a result, in the end they were defeated one by Tao Yaoyao. At this time, everyone was focused on the hidden dragon pot, staring at the little guy inside, wanting to see what choice he would make. Then, everyone watched as the little guy leapt into the dense forest deep in the mountains. And first get out of the enemy's line of sight, then find a better place to attack. At the same time, his figure disappearing can also bring pressure to the opponent. Many people watched and continuously nodded, making an interpretation of the little guy's actions in their hearts. Next, they saw the little guy leisurely stroll in the forest. His face suddenly revealed a look of pleasant surprise, and he picked a few spirit flowers under a large tree. "I don't understand, what does this mean?" The spectators were confused. Zhao Junshin's gaze also looked towards Shi Xingyun. "Are the spirit flowers and spirit herbs in the hidden dragon pot real?" Shi Xingyun nodded his head. "That's right, the hidden dragon pot is a heavenly abode-type magic treasure. The spirit energy within the pot is abundant. Not only can it nourish cultivators to cultivate inside, it can also grow all kinds of spirit flowers and medicinal herbs." Zhao Junshin's brows slightly furrowed. "But even if it's real, why did he pick those spirit flowers? Is he trying to use poison?" Shi Xingyun's face also revealed a look of confusion. "That can't be. The spirit flowers he picked are called Divine Iris Fragrance. They are nourishing spirit herbs. They are completely non-poisonous. I know there is a poison mixing method that can mix a few types of originally non-poisonous spirit herbs to produce a strong poison, but I've never heard of a poison mixing method that uses Divine Iris Fragrance." Everyone was baffled as they watched the little guy stroll around the mountain forest. Then he picked spirit flowers and spirit fruits one after another. Looking at his appearance, it simply didn't seem like he entered the dragon-concealing pot to compete with others, but rather to specifically pick medicine. The group of people patiently watched as the little guy casually picked the things he was interested in, then walked all the way to the top of the mountain. When he reached the top of the mountain, the little guy was already carrying a large pile of things he had picked. He then turned around and sat on a rock at the top of the mountain, nodding his head in satisfaction as he watched the 2 humans and 1 demon fighting at the foot of the mountain. Is he going to make his move? Everyone's hearts were in their mouths at this moment, nervously watching the little guy's every move. His next move was very likely to turn the entire situation around. The little guy revealed himself. Li Dongtao and Yun Mei were very observant, so they naturally saw him sitting at the top of the mountain with a glance. Their hearts tightened. He's occupying that high vantage point. What is he trying to do? Is he trying to imitate the archers of the secular world? This pair of sword companions from the Sun Moon Sword sect immediately raised their vigilance. This kind of long-range attack was usually fast enough, accurate enough, and possessed an extremely powerful penetrating magic. Perhaps the little guy wanted to use this kind of method to kill one of them in an instant. The distance between them meant that he might need a long time to accumulate power for the next spell, and he was afraid that it would be interrupted by others. The power of this kind of spell was naturally extraordinary. At this moment, even Tunton had forgotten about the little guy's evil act of digging a hole for itself and was full of expectations for him. Quickly take care of them, and I will be magnanimous and forgive you from before. Crack. A clear and melodious sound rang in the air. As if completely unaware that he was already the center of attention, the little guy leisurely and contentedly picked up a spirit fruit, bringing it to his mouth and taking a big bite. Juice flowed out of his mouth. It tastes very good. The little guy sighed in satisfaction. He continued to eat the spirit fruit while using his big black eyes to watch the fierce battle between Tunton and Li Dongtao below with interest. As he ate, he even shook his head and clicked his tongue in praise. That sword just now was beautiful. As he spoke, the little guy dexterously threw up a jujube-sized spirit fruit, and then opened his mouth to catch it, swallowing it in one gulp. Tunton, you should have dodged to the right, and then decisively counterattacked. The little guy's right fist hammered into his left palm, and his expression was full of regret. Then he took out a thick rattan and bit open the skin. A large amount of juice immediately flowed out of the rattan. The little guy drank a mouthful of the rattan juice, and then ate a mouthful of the spirit fruit, revealing a satisfied expression on his face. Oh, the Sun and Moon twin swords have such a transformation? I never expected it in the past. He was completely infatuated with the scene, unaware that outside the hidden dragon pot, the entire lakeside of the North Wind Sea had already fallen into a deathly silence. The several hundred people standing in the venue were like an unmarked graveyard in the middle of the night. A gust of wind blew past, and the crowd finally regained some vitality. Almost everyone was looking at the sky at a 45-degree angle, tears streaming down their faces. Beat him to death! Beat him to death! We must beat this brat to death! Not a single person spoke, but the crowds will seem to solidify at this moment, soundlessly echoing between heaven and earth. Inside the hidden dragon pot, Tunton's furious voice was deafening. Sure Tinhao. This lady will definitely kill you. I will definitely kill you. Even if your master wants to kill me afterwards, this lady will definitely kill you. Even if I die with you, I will still kill you. Chapter 322. Xiao Budian's behavior of sitting on the top of the mountain watching the show, coupled with the scene of Tunton jumping and cursing, made everyone outside the hidden dragon pot speechless. Everyone looked at Lin Feng and Xianmen Tianzong with very strange eyes. Zhu Yi looked up to the sky and let out a long sigh. 800 years of fame lost overnight. Yu Hongyan, who had always been upright, also lowered his stubborn head at this moment, looking at his toes as if he could see a flower. Yang Qing turned his face to the side. He could not bear to see it. He was so ashamed and angry that he wanted to find a hole to crawl into. Although Zhuge Fengling did not speak because of Lin Feng's presence, she kept shaking her head and at the same time sent a telepathic message to her gold-digging rat. Although I often cheat people, I can't sell out my companion in front of hundreds of people, and do it in such a calm and unrestrained manner. Her gold-digging rat's little head also kept nodding when it heard this. Only Lin Feng's expression was normal, looking at the hidden dragon pot with an indifferent expression, but in his heart he was also bitterly laughing non-stop. Stinking brat, you can even sell out your teammates in such a high-profile manner, you're also a talent. Dao Master Chang'e looked at Lin Feng and coughed. Sect Master Lin, it seems that your disciple has not recovered from his injury and is not able to participate in the competition. If it is completely done by your registered disciple, it doesn't matter if he loses, but if he wins, it will be unfair to Li Dongtao and Yun Mei of the Sun and Moon Sword sect. Lin Feng smiled faintly. I agree with what Lord Chang'e said, but it's still too early to make a conclusion now. Dao Master Chang'e's eyes flashed, and he looked back at the hidden dragon pot. In the hidden dragon pot, Xiao Budian, who had been watching the show from the top of the mountain, picked his ear and looked down at the unceasing cursing Tunten. He said in a dissatisfied tone, so noisy. You can't even resolve such a small matter. So useless. Tunten felt that her tears were about to form a river as she angrily roared, you think you're useful, come and try. She was busy quarreling with Xiao Budian and was almost stabbed by Li Dongtao's sword in a moment of carelessness. The little guy curled his lips. If I wasn't injured, would I still need you? If you have the ability, don't get hurt. Tunten was so angry that she vomited blood. Not only did she have to face the dual sword combination attack of the Sun-Moon Sword sect disciples, she also had to fight a battle of wits and courage with her teammate Xiao Budian. She was so depressed that she wanted to die. Li Dongtao and Yun Mei looked at each other, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Yun Mei sighed, fighting against such an opponent, why does it feel so shameful even if I win? Li Dongtao said in a muffled voice, let's win first. With that, the two increased their power, wave after wave of attacks stronger than the last, pressuring Tunten so much that it did not even have the chance to speak. The little guy was clearly watching from the side, and they naturally would not waste this opportunity. They would first finish off Tunten before dealing with the little guy, which would make things much easier. But at this moment, the little guy suddenly moved. The half-spirit fruit that he had not finished eating was directly stuffed into his mouth and swallowed. Then he seemed to have transformed into a bolt of lightning, instantly rushing down the mountain to Li Dongtao and Yun Mei's side. Yun Mei said with a smile, little brother's considerations are too simple. I was just guarding against this move of yours. As she spoke, she did not show any weakness. She swung her full moon divine light sword, facing the little guy head-on. She wanted to force the little guy to fight head-on and bully him for not recovering from his injuries. The little guy roared, Tunten. Tunten shouted in dissatisfaction, don't, I won't be fooled again. If you're not going, I'm going back to the top of the mountain. The little guy laughed. Tunten roared, I'll deal with you later. With that, Tunten raised its hand, and the sun's true fire that was like 10,000 golden needles shooting together flew out and attacked Yun Mei. Yun Mei completely ignored it and continued to fiercely attack the little guy. Beside her, Li Dongtao changed his sword momentum and blocked Tunten's sun's true fire for her. The Sun Glory Sword and the sun's true fire clashed like two scorching suns colliding. Sparks flew in all directions, and the radiance was so bright that one could not open their eyes. At this moment, the corners of the little guy's mouth curled into an imperceptible smile. The wind and thunder heaven movement martial art was activated, and his entire body was like a bolt of lightning. He suddenly changed directions in the air and drew a curved line, throwing Yun Mei aside and attacking Li Dongtao. A shadow emerged in Yun Mei's heart. She faintly felt that something was wrong, but she did not slow down at all. The power of the full moon divine light sword was pushed to the limit, turning into a bright white light that shot straight at the little guy. It was as if the Milky Way had reversed and poured down. Outside the dragon concealing pot, a smile suddenly appeared on Lin Feng's face, while the Sun Glory Sword Venerable frowned slightly. A thoughtful look appeared on the faces of the other primordial spirit bigwigs when they saw this scene. In response to Yun Mei's sword, the little guy chuckled and raised his hand to strike out the tiger's soul golden disc, releasing the demonic tiger's soul essence to block Yun Mei's attack for himself. Yun Mei's expression immediately changed. She had originally wanted to besiege Wei to save Zhao and force the little guy to give up on attacking Li Dongtao. Who could have imagined that the little guy would suddenly release the peak advanced golden elixir demonic tiger's soul essence to save her, causing her plan to fall through. In this way, Li Dongtao, who was fighting Tunten with all his might, immediately fell into the predicament of being attacked from two sides. What made Li Dongtao and Yun Mei's hearts sink was that the little guy's interference actually seemed to separate the two of them, causing them to fall into a state of fighting on their own, unable to coordinate with each other. Most of the spectators outside the pot were baffled, completely unable to understand how the little guy and Tunten were able to turn the situation around in an instant. Only a few people had a look of sudden realization on their faces. Jiao Junshin clapped his hands and sighed, "Spectacular!" Shi Xingyun nodded his head. Li Dongtao and Yun Mei's cooperation is already very tacit. The changes in the sword techniques and the communication of magic power are all extremely close. But it's a pity that people are ultimately different. Even if they are telepathic and specially cooperate with each other, there is no guarantee that the two of them can maintain the same thoughts at all times. Especially the difference in personality, it will cause them to make different judgments when faced with the same choice. In the Celeritas sword sect camp, Zhao Yan puzzledly looked towards Tao Yaoyao, eldest senior sister. "Just what is this?" Tao Yaoyao stared at the dragon-concealing pot while absent-mindedly answering, "Li Dongtao and Yun Mei will actively help each other, but the difference in personality caused them to choose different ways of helping each other. Li Dongtao's personality is calm. He doesn't seek to be successful in everything. He first seeks to avoid making mistakes. So when Yun Mei was attacked and needed his protection, Li Dongtao chose to defend conservatively, blocking the attack for Yun Mei. And don't look at Yun Mei as a girl. Her personality is actually very proactive. Her fighting style also leans towards the radical side. When Li Dongtao encountered a threat and needed her help, Yun Mei chose to take the initiative to attack, attacking where the enemy must save, thus forcing the enemy to give up their original intention to attack and return to protect themselves. Tao Yaoyao's gaze fell on the little guy, the corners of her mouth revealing a hint of a smile. Looks like that little guy isn't really sitting on the mountain eating fruits and watching the show, but has always been observing the details of Li Dongtao and Yun Mei's battle. He saw through this point and made effective use of it. Zhao Yan stared at the dragon-concealing pot and frowned. It broke the Sun-Moon Sword Sect's dual sword combination so easily. It's different from me and that little girl Xianmen Tianzong back then. Back then we were truly 1 against 2, the other companion couldn't be counted on. Tao Yaoyao rolled her eyes in annoyance, and this little guy in front of us, as well as that pure-blooded little Tao, neither one of them have the ability to contend against the Sun-Moon twin swords alone. If those two little guys joined forces to fight the Sun-Moon twin swords head-on, it's not that they have no chance of winning, but it'll take a lot more effort. Tao Yaoyao continued. In such a situation, as long as Li Dongtao and Yun Mei have the slightest flaw, this flaw will be infinitely enlarged until it becomes completely irreparable. She withdrew her gaze from the dragon-concealing pot and said in a somewhat bored tone, "No need to look anymore. Once the dual sword combination is broken, the outcome has already been decided. That little guy used the most effortless method to obtain victory." Tao Yaoyao's judgment was correct. After Li Dongtao and Yun Mei's dual sword combination was broken, they no longer had the strength to contend against the little guy and Tunten. They only lasted for a period of time before being defeated. The little guy successfully advanced to the top 4, while Tunten also obtained the qualification to enter the ancient desolate sea world. Outside the dragon-concealing pot, someone from the Heavenly Pool Sect's camp said in annoyance, "This also let that brat pass." Senior brother Mu clearly beat him to such a seriously injured appearance. Mu Jihai's face was so dark that it seemed as if water was about to drip from it. On the other hand, Song Qingyuan's expression was very calm. If one looked closely, one could even see a hint of relief and satisfaction on his face. Even though we won, most of the threat was caused by the pure-blooded Tao Tai. Even though Shi Tianhao saw through the loophole between Li Dongtao and Yun Mei's team, in reality, when they really fought, he was just a support. Song Qingyun laughed in his heart, and even so, he was forced to use a magic tool. If I remember correctly, before this, when the disciples of the celestial sect of wonders faced their enemies, most of them were very arrogant. They only used their own magic power and divine abilities, and rarely used external forces. This kid has indeed reached his limit. There's nothing to worry about. On the other side, the Xianmen Tianzong group naturally welcomed the little guy and Mu Jihai's victorious return. Zhu Yi looked at the little guy and continuously shook his head. You should have just observed the opponent's flaws. Why did you have to make it so conspicuous? Nothing was delayed. That's pretty good. The little guy smiled. Shi Xingyun is right. It was indeed difficult to fight against the pair of sword cultivators alone. However, it was much easier since I had help. He smiled happily, but Tunten was completely enraged. You still dare to say that? Her tiny body jumped up and down in anger. She pointed at the tip of the little guy's nose and scolded, Shi Tianhao, you bastard. Now that you've obtained a spot to enter the ancient desolate sea world, I'm going to settle the score with you. Do you really think the Tao Tai is a pushover? Chapter 323. The little guy glanced at Tunten and sneered, Didn't you think of doing nothing? Didn't you think of standing aside and letting the two of them beat me up? Tunten was stunned. She did have such a plan, but it was a pity that she was not as fast as the little guy. She was not as shameless as the little guy. She lowered her voice and said, Of course I didn't. I was the one fighting with my life on the line, okay? The little guy snorted, Forget it. Even if I lose this match, I can still enter the ancient desolate sea world. The spots are mainly for you. Don't you want to do anything? How can there be a free lunch in this world? Tunten still wanted to retort, but the little guy killed it with a single sentence. Golden deer, black spirit flood dragon, heavenly river jade bell fruit, purple jade melon, scarlet fire oil pear, essence gold fruit, pine needle spirit snake, 8 treasure chicken, 9 heart sparrow, pearl fish, purple lightning martin. Oh right, there's also the azure light vine, jadeite spirit celery, and dragon scale bamboo shoots. She swallowed her saliva and pretended to be cold. What? Why are you talking about these things? We are discussing the problem of you betraying me. However, the last sentence immediately made her spill the beans. It's useless to say so much. You don't have it. The little guy looked up at the sky and leisurely said, It will be soon. Tunten's eyes lit up. Really? But the little guy looked at her and chuckled. So what if I tell you? You don't seem to be interested. Do. Tunten's facial features immediately squeezed into a bun. She grabbed the little guy's arm and said fiercely, Give me everything, at least half, and I won't pursue the matter just now. The little guy raised his eyebrows. In your dreams. I don't even have enough for myself. Lin Feng did not pay attention to this pair of clowns, instead saying to Zhu Yi, Little E, seriously watch this match, pay attention to every detail. Zhu Yi looked at Song Qingyuan and Gu Lei walking towards the hidden dragon pot and slowly nodded. Lin Feng's gaze also looked towards the direction of the hidden dragon pot, thinking, this match should be able to verify my guess. After the little guy's match with the moon and sun swords, the second match was between Heavenly Pool Sect's Song Qingyuan and Purple Cloud Path's Gu Lei. From the past records, Song Qingyuan had defeated his old enemy Du Kun of the Northern Militant Imperial Court and was in the limelight. Although Gu Lei was sent to the top 8 by his junior sister Li Kuyin, no one dared to underestimate him. Sure enough, from the beginning, the two sides fought fiercely. The ice and fire intertwined, and the lightning flashed. The two used the power of their respective spells vividly. Whether it was the destructive power of the spells or the fine control of the spells, they all displayed an extremely high standard, which was a feast for the eyes of the spectators. The strengths of both parties were on par with each other, and they were locked in battle. It could almost be said that this was the most exciting and the most evenly matched battle since the Golden Core Realm Cultivators competition began in the Dharma Assembly. The turning point of the battle was Song Qingyuan's sudden close attack. He used the ice and fire double body and defeated Gu Lei with his tyrannical physical strength. The cultivators of Purple Cloud Path all showed a regretful expression. After Gu Lei's defeat, no one from Purple Cloud Path could enter the top 4 in this spell conference, whether it was the Foundation establishment or the Golden Elixir period. Gu Lei himself was more free and easy. After coming out of the Hidden Dragon Pot, he looked at Li Kuan and smiled helplessly. "I've let you down. If I had known earlier, I would have admitted defeat and let you enter the top 8. I don't need to rely on this to prove myself." Li Kuan shook her head gently. "If it was me, it wouldn't take long for me to lose to Song Qingyuan. How could I fight with him until the last moment like you?" Just as Li Kuan said, Gu Lei and Song Qingyuan jointly contributed a wonderful battle that could be called a textbook. Everyone benefited a lot and respected them. Although Gu Lei was defeated, he also won everyone's respect. His senior and junior brothers of Purple Cloud Path only felt that it was a pity, but they still walked up to comfort Gu Lei. On the other side, Song Qingyuan's popularity rose again because of his battle with Gu Lei. He defeated Do Kuan and Gu Lei, 2 powerhouses who could be called seeded contestants, consecutively, making his place in the top 4 seem very valuable. Now, Song Qingyuan's chances of winning the first place were even gradually higher than Zhu Yi and Jiao Junshin. However, Lin Feng looked at Song Qingyuan at this moment, and a smile gradually appeared at the corner of his mouth. "My previous guess was correct. Unless he has been deliberately setting up a trap until now, this person is indeed nothing to worry about. He can be removed from the threat list." Lin Feng looked at Zhu Yi beside him. He saw Zhu Yi frowning slightly and staring at Song Qingyuan's figure, a thoughtful expression on his face. "You can tell?" Lin Feng asked with a smile. Zhu Yi replied, "I vaguely have some inspiration, but it's like looking at flowers in the fog. It's not clear enough." Lin Feng smiled and gave him a hint. Zhu Yi's eyes immediately lit up. "I see. If that's really the case, it's indeed much easier to defeat him. We also have to be wary of him deliberately setting up a trap," Lin Feng reminded. Zhu Yi nodded. "Master is right. However, even if he is deliberately setting up a trap, the location of the trap has already been exposed. We just have to be careful." Lin Feng looked at the Hidden Dragon Pot. "I'm afraid the next battle will be a little boring." Zhu Yi was stunned. He looked at Shi Xingyun and Tao Yaoyao, who were walking toward the Hidden Dragon Pot, and fell into deep thought. Different from Lin Feng, the majority of the people at the scene were also looking forward to this match. They all thought that this match would not lose to the previous one. Tao Yaoyao was publicly recognized as the top descendant of the Celeritas Sword sect during the Golden Elixir period. She had already become famous hundreds of years ago. Strictly speaking, she could not even be considered to be of the same generation as the majority of the people who participated in the spell gathering. Even the younger disciples of the Celeritas Sword sect who entered the sect later did not even know of the existence of such a person, let alone the others. Hundreds of years ago, Tao Yaoyao had already reached the peak of the late stage of the Golden Elixir. She was only a step away from the nascent soul stage. She was shockingly talented. Not only in the Celeritas Sword sect, but also in the entire Nine Heaven Sword Alliance, she was a super genius. Her strength was shocking. She killed the Yuanying ancestor with the late stage of the Golden Elixir, causing quite a commotion at the time. Unfortunately, it was also because of that battle that Tao Yaoyao's Golden Elixir almost shattered. She had no choice but to stay in the late stage of the Golden Elixir for hundreds of years, wasting countless days. But after 100 years of recuperation, even though Tao Yaoyao still had no hope of advancing to the Yuanying stage, she had recovered her original strength. Ever since she participated in the spell gathering, she crushed all of her enemies. She defeated the Sun-Moon Sword sect's dual sword combination by herself. Her fame was unparalleled. And before Shi Xingyun participated in the spell gathering, her reputation was not prominent. The saying of Yuanying Lofty Cloud, Golden Elixir Nebula, was only circulated within a very small circle. This time's desolate sea spell gathering was the stage where Shi Xingyun truly displayed her strength. She had also displayed her powerful strength. She also defeated all of her opponents and advanced to the next round. Even Sang Luo, the top divine soul warlock in the Golden Elixir period, was defeated by her. Moreover, it was obvious that Shi Xingyun was at ease. The fact that she had refined the primordial heavenly dragon's soul in her divine soul made people think highly of her strength. Even though she had only displayed the toughness of her divine soul, after merging with the dragon's soul, her cultivation of the great Qin dynasty's 5 emperors' true dragon secret art would definitely yield twice the results with half the effort. Compared to Yu Hongyan and Dao Yuding, who were in the foundation establishment realm, Tao Yaoyao and Shi Xingyun were also known as the peerless twin beauties of the Golden Elixir period. Many busybodies hoped that there would be a showdown between them. Many people regretted that Yu Hongyan and Dao Yuding did not have a showdown. Now that Tao Yaoyao and Shi Xingyun, who were in the Golden Elixir period, would there be an even more exciting showdown? Unfortunately, the ideal was very fulfilling, but the reality was very harsh. The passionate showdown between the beauties that many people were looking forward to did not happen. The battle between Tao Yaoyao and Shi Xingyun was just as Lin Feng had said. The process was extremely depressing. Simply put, it was one side attacking with all their might, while the other side was like a turtle, defending with all their might and not retaliating. Tao Yaoyao did not disappoint the audience. She did not even use the cloud travel flowing light sword. She immediately used her strongest instant sword escape. Her body turned into flowing light, so fast that people could not see her with the naked eye. They could only sense her with their divine sense. Within the space of the hidden dragon pot, one could see streaks of sword light interweave in the air to form a net. The previous sword light still remained on the retina of the audience, but the second, third, and fourth sword light had already appeared. On the other hand, Shi Xingyun's performance made people's jaws drop. He was so conservative that it made people vomit blood. He gave up on all possible attacks and focused all of his energy on defense, defending against Tao Yaoyao's storm-like attacks. The anticipated exciting showdown turned into a one-sided attack and defense drill. Other than the Cellerita's sword sect disciples who were excited and cheering, the majority of the audience felt greatly disappointed. It was far from what they had expected. The only highlight of Shi Xingyun's contribution was the technique that shocked the audience. White, green, black, red, and yellow light dragons spiraled and connected to form a ring. The 5 elements were born, unbreakable, and turned into an immortal fortress that protected Shi Xingyun in the center. No matter how fierce Tao Yaoyao's attacks were, the 5-colored barrier did not waver. The White Dragon Emperor's Book, Blue Dragon Emperor's Book, Black Dragon Emperor's Book, Red Dragon Emperor's Book, and Yellow Dragon Emperor's Book were the 5 major branches of the Great Qin dynasty's 5 emperors' true dragon scriptures. Under normal circumstances, it was already difficult for the imperial family members to cultivate one. Shi Shaoqian was hailed as a genius when he cultivated 2 of the Red Dragon Emperor's Book and the Yellow Dragon Emperor's Book. However, Shi Xingyun had actually cultivated all 5. Such talent could be said to be shocking. When they saw her 5-colored light dragons flying together, the entire audience went into an uproar. They could not wait to see whether Shi Xingyun's 5 elemental light dragons were stronger, or Tao Yaoyao's instant sword escape was sharper. Unfortunately, Shi Xingyun immediately poured a bucket of cold water on everyone's heads. The 5 elemental light dragons only defended and did not attack. It was as if he was wearing a turtle shell. No matter how Tao Yaoyao hit him, he did not retaliate. In the end, Tao Yaoyao could be considered to have completely let go of herself. She only attacked and did not defend. All of her energy was spent on attacking, and her defense was full of holes. However, Shi Xingyun endured and did not waver. Her determination to defend to the death did not waver. It was as if she had entered the arena just to fight to a draw with Tao Yaoyao. The low-level cultivators watched gloomily. On the other hand, Lin Feng, Shi Zongyue, and the others watched with interest. The few big shots were all looking at the hidden dragon pot in high spirits. Chapter 324. Zhu Yi and Tiny Tot stared at the light projected from the mouth of the hidden dragon pot. The light reflected everything that was happening inside the hidden dragon pot. Shi Xingyun's 5 elemental light dragons kept shrinking. Gradually, the light dragons were no longer visible. Instead, it looked like a pure 5-colored barrier that covered the ground like a huge bowl. Meanwhile, Tao Yaoyao had transformed into an endless stream of sword light. She attacked Shi Xingyun from all directions, hoping to find a loophole in her defense and break through it. Between the two of them, one attacked like a storm, while the other defended like a watertight wall. Although the battle seemed one-sided, both of them had displayed outstanding strength. From another perspective, the battle was not inferior to the battle between Song Qingyuan and Gu Lei. She did it on purpose. After watching for a while, Tiny Tot suddenly said, Shi Xingyun gave up on attacking on purpose and focused on defending. With her strength, she might not be at a disadvantage if she were to fight against Tao Yaoyao. Zhu Yi nodded in agreement. That's right. However, in that case, the two of them would be evenly matched. It would be hard to tell who would win. If they were to fight, it would be normal for either side to win. As long as the other side has a loophole, it would be difficult to turn the tables. Zhu Yi slowly said, obviously, Shi Xingyun doesn't want to fight in such a risky and unpredictable way. Tiny Tot frowned. However, is she asking for a draw by giving up on attacking? If she wants to win in such a way, unless she has other plans, she would definitely lose if she were to defend for a long time. After all, the attacker has the upper hand. The two of them looked at each other. Their eyes flickered at the same time as they said in unison, Tao Yaoyao's golden elixir. Tiny Tot pounded his left palm with his right fist and suddenly said, so that's Shi Xingyun's plan. Tao Yaoyao's golden dan was once irreparably damaged. Although it's fine after hundreds of years of recuperation and has even regained its strength, a damaged golden dan can't be compared to its original state. Zhu Yi nodded his head and said, that's right. It won't be a problem for a short period of time, but if the battle drags on, Tao Yaoyao's damaged golden elixir might crack again. He looked at the hidden dragon pot and said, Tao Yaoyao's previous battles always ended in a very short period of time. On one hand, it was because she was very powerful, and on the other hand, it was because she knew that she couldn't fight for long. Therefore, she fought like a lion hunting a rabbit, using her full strength from the start to end the battle in the shortest time possible. Shi Xingyun knew this, which was why he chose to defend with all his might. He allowed Tao Yaoyao to attack him as she pleased. He wanted to wear Tao Yaoyao down. The little guy asked doubtfully, but can't Tao Yaoyao see this? Did she just walk right into Shi Xingyun's trap? Hearing this, Zhu Yi also fell into deep thought. It's just my personality. At this moment, Lin Feng said calmly, Tao Yaoyao can choose not to attack, but the two of them can just stare at each other in the hidden dragon pot until the end of time. However, for Tao Yaoyao, this is undoubtedly a sign of weakness. It's equivalent to admitting that she can't break through Shi Xingyun's defense. That woman is arrogant and competitive, so she can't tolerate this. Lin Feng smiled. Let's take a step back and say that Tao Yaoyao saw through Shi Xingyun's plan and also controlled her temper and didn't make a move. For Shi Xingyun, there's no loss. Let's just compete in patience. Shi Xingyun has long been prepared for a long battle. If she doesn't care about defending like a turtle, then she won't care about who will starve to death first. Although Lin Feng's tone was relaxed, Zhu Yi, the little guy, Yu Hongyan, Yang Qing, and the others were deep in thought. Seeing them like this, Lin Feng nodded in satisfaction. If you can defeat your opponent in terms of strength, you can just crush them with your strength. However, when the level of strength of both parties is similar, or even completely equal, the deciding factor is a battle of wills. He turned to look at the hidden dragon pot and said, unless Tao Yaoyao has a way to break through Shi Xingyun's defense, even if she keeps attacking, Shi Xingyun will still have the upper hand. As long as Tao Yaoyao doesn't break through Shi Xingyun's defense, the worst outcome would be a draw. In fact, judging from Tao Yaoyao's continuous attacks, Tao Yaoyao has consumed a lot of her magic power, so Shi Xingyun has a higher chance of winning. Lin Feng smiled. The problem is that Tao Yaoyao has run out of tricks. She has no way of breaking through Shi Xingyun's defense. As soon as Tao Yaoyao finished speaking, the streams of light dancing in the hidden dragon kettle suddenly disappeared, revealing Tao Yaoyao's figure. She looked at Shi Xingyun expressionlessly and said calmly, "I've lost this round." She looked at Shi Xingyun and said, "If we continue fighting, you'll counterattack, right? I've consumed a lot more magic power than you. If we were to fight normally, I'd lose more than I win." Tao Yaoyao suddenly smiled, "No, you won't counterattack. As long as I don't stop, you'll continue to defend until you kill me." The barrier formed by the 5 elemental light dragons dispersed, revealing Shi Xingyun, who was dressed in a yellow robe. He looked at Tao Yaoyao and smiled, "Sister Yaoyao, thank you for letting me win." "Don't give me that." Tao Yaoyao snorted. Her white robe fluttered as she exited the hidden dragon pot and returned to where the members of the Flashback Sword sect were. Her junior brothers and sisters fell silent. They did not know what to say. In a sense, Tao Yaoyao had suffered a huge setback. According to the original plan, she was one of the strong contenders for the first place. She was guaranteed to be a super-seeded contestant in the top 4. However, she was eliminated during the quarterfinals, which was quite unexpected. As for Shi Xingyun, who had been keeping a low profile before the Desolate Sea Assembly, his reputation skyrocketed after his victory. Just like Song Qingyuan, Shi Xingyun's path to the next level was filled with gold. Both Sang Le and Tao Yaoyao were extremely powerful opponents. Among the cultivators from the major forces, not only the cultivators in the Golden Elixir period and the foundation building stage, but even the Yuanying patriarchs had a whole new level of respect for Shi Xingyun. The way they looked at her was much more serious. When Shi Xingyun returned to the Great Qin dynasty's camp, she saw Jiao Junshin smiling. "Tao Yaoyao will definitely compete with you again after this. If Sister Yaoyao can successfully get the Skymending Vine to repair the cracks in the Golden Elixir, I will definitely avoid her in the future," Shi Xingyun said with a smile. She glanced at Jiao Junshin. "It's your turn. You must be anxious from waiting, right?" Jiao Junshin nodded calmly. "It's been a long time since I could not calm down. I only managed to calm down after writing a few words." Shi Xingyun smiled. "I wish you success." Jiao Junshin laughed. "Thank you for your blessings." He then walked toward the hidden dragon pot. On the other side, Zhu Yi also bowed to Lin Feng. "Master, I will go now." After glancing at Jiao Junshin in the distance, Lin Feng said to Zhu Yi, "This person is a strong opponent, but you will benefit a lot from fighting him. You must deal with him carefully." After a short pause, Lin Feng said slowly, "When fighting him, spells are only a side branch. The key is the general direction of the ancient Confucian Taoist techniques. You can try to figure it out carefully and verify it with your own thoughts." Zhu Yi's eyes lit up. He smiled and said, "Thank you for your advice, Master. I know what to do." When the spectators saw Jiao Junshin and Zhu Yi walking toward the hidden dragon pot, they all became alert. The 4 matches before the 3rd round of the competition were all exciting. Now that it was the most anticipated match, the crowd was excited. The cultivators who could enter the top 8 were indeed not easy to deal with. Each of them had their own unique skills. The match between Zhu Yi and Jiao Junshin was regarded as the final that would begin in advance. Even the primordial spirit realm experts were very concerned about this battle. Dao Master Zhuge Guang used his mana to send a voice transmission to Dao Master Chang'e. He asked, "Who do you think will win between these 2 little nerds? The 2 of them are not bookworms." Dao Master Chang'e smiled. Jiao Junshin does not need to say more. He has already integrated the Confucian scriptures and the truth of heaven and earth. He has cultivated the awe-inspiring righteousness and has accumulated enough strength to achieve enlightenment. Even that Zhu Yi, although he cultivates in the mysterious gate heavenly sect, there is a faint aura of literature above his head. However, it is not like Jiao Junshin's, which soars into the 9 heavens, but condenses in his body and does not dissipate. Dao Master Chang'e glanced at Zhu Yi and said softly, "He is actually in a stage of recuperation and accumulation. Once it is released, it will be amazing." I have a hunch that if Zhu Yi can defeat Jiao Junshan in this battle, it may be the time for him to release his accumulated strength. Zhuge Guang smiled. The question is, can he win? Dao Master Chang'e also smiled. Let's say it is 60-40. Jiao Junshan has about a 60% chance of winning, but it is not impossible for Zhu. The smile on his face faded a little. In all fairness, the disciples of Xianmen Tianzong are indeed monstrous. If Zhu Yi is at the middle stage of the golden elixir, then the battle between him and Jiao Junshan, I estimate that the outcome will be reversed. Zhu Yi has a 60% chance of winning and Jiao Junshan only has a 40% chance. Zhuge Guang's eyes contained many things that were difficult to understand. The disciples of Xianmen Tianzong are all amazing, but the others don't matter. The key is Zhu Yi and Shi Tianhao. The strong rise of these two will have an impact on the situation that is too hard to predict. Dao Master Chang'e did not say anything after hearing this, but his face revealed a look of deep thought. One was the direct descendant of the Shi family of the Great Qin dynasty, the other was the son of the Great Zhou dynasty's Grand Preceptor, the Marquis of Xuanji Zhu Hongwu. Although the two had a falling out with their respective families, things like blood relations are sometimes hard to say. While the two primordial spirit big shots were talking, Zhu Yi had already arrived next to the hidden dragon pot and jumped in. Inside the pot, Jiao Junshan was leisurely sitting on the grass, looking at Zhu Yi with a smile. Seeing Zhu Yi enter the hidden dragon pot, Jiao Junshan rubbed his palm. White mist surged, suddenly forming musical instruments that floated in the air. There was a bell, a pan, a qin, a si, a pipe, a sheng, a shao, a zither, a drum, a zither, and other instruments that played a beautiful piece of music together. Within the mist, there were faintly white clouds that transformed into birds, beasts, dragons, and phoenixes that danced lightly. It's rare to find a like-minded person. Jiao Junshan sat upright on the ground, singing an ancient poem that merged with the music and dance. Poetry, music, and dance in one, forming a grand and powerful dance that seemed to be welcoming the arrival of Zhu. Seeing Jiao Junshan like this, Zhu Yi couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. Great Shao. Chapter 325. Looking at the music and dance in the hidden dragon pot, most of the spectators were confused and felt that it was inexplicable. However, Zhu Yi was able to recognize it immediately. The 6 arts of Confucianism were rites, music, archery, imperial strategy, calligraphy, and mathematics. They were also known as the 6 music or 6 dances. They were the 6 ancient music of Yunmen, De Xian, De Shao, De Xia, De Yen, and De Wu. Jiao Junshan was currently performing one of the Shao music. Seeing that Zhu Yi recognized the music and dance, Jiao Junshan's face revealed a joyful expression. You are indeed a kindred spirit. However, he did not smile. Silently, he watched the music and dance. After a while, he nodded. As expected of the saying, virtue is great, great. It was as if the heavens were full, as if the earth were full. Although it is very virtuous, its disdain is added to this. Stop watching. The ancients did not deceive me. The ancient sages said that the Shao music was beautiful and virtuous. They felt that the Shao music was completely isolated from disputes and was in line with the principles of rights. When Zhu Yi spoke up to hear, the topic of the conversation suddenly changed. Your distinguished self utilized it here for the sake of eliminating my will to fight and causing me to lose without a battle. Aren't you being too utilitarian and losing the original elegance of this great Shao instead? Zhu Yi's eyes were bright. Since you want to fight, then let's fight. We have a good reason to fight. We are invincible and victorious. As he said this, Zhu Yi clapped his hands lightly. 2 streams of air, one black and one white, flew into the air and turned into a shield and a battle axe. They danced in the air, full of strength and masculinity. A vast sound of music rang out. It was rhythmic and made one's blood boil. When it reached the end, there was a sense of peace and tranquility. Zhu Yi sang a song that was also one of the 6 music, De Wu. When De Wu appeared, Jiao Junshan's De Shao immediately retreated and collapsed. Zhao Junchen wasn't annoyed. With a wave of his hand, he put away the cloud-formed birds and musical instruments. Silently, he listened to Zhu Yi's dou with a calm expression. The sages say that music is perfect, but they say that martial music is perfect but not good, because they feel that martial music is not completely free from disputes. After the song, Zhu Yi said calmly, "But today, you and I are going to compete. My Great Wu is a righteous, fearless, and straightforward organization. It is far better than your hypocritical, pretentious, and peaceful Great Shao. If you want to win, Shaolu will no longer be Shaolu. How can you beat Wu?" Zhao Junchen clapped his hands and sighed. "That is indeed the case. I have benefited greatly from your words." Unexpectedly, before Zhu Yi finished speaking, he suddenly changed the topic again. Even the real Shao Lu may not be able to defeat Wu Lu. The sages say that Shao Lu is perfect, but they say that Wu Lu is slightly inferior. That is only their opinion, and it doesn't mean that they are necessarily correct. Hearing this, Zhao Junchen frowned slightly. "My friend Zhu Yi, your words are a bit too much." Zhu Yi replied calmly, "There is no such thing as no books at all. Sages are also human, and since they are human, they have their limits. They can't be omniscient and omnipotent, so naturally, they can't guarantee that what they say is correct. In fact, the sages themselves did the same. Even when they were old, they once asked a child about it. This is the principle. The more the truth is debated, the clearer it becomes. Even if the sages were to come back to life and stand before me, I would ask for his knowledge, but I would also reason with him. If what he says is wrong, I would refute him." Zhu Yi gently brushed his sleeves and said nonchalantly, "We are scholars. The world is big, and the earth is big, but the truth is the most important. Even the sages are not more important than the truth. They cannot represent the truth, and what they say is not all the truth. A king dares to rebuke when he is wrong, and a sage dares to reason with him when he is wrong. This is what a scholar should be." If Zhu Yi's words fell into the ears of some traditional scholars, it would probably cause an earthquake-like uproar, and he would be regarded as a heretic. However, Zhao Junchen did not get angry. He only frowned slightly and stared at Zhu Yi for a while before saying, "The world is big, but the truth is the most important. This saying is right. A king dares to rebuke when he is wrong, and a sage dares to reason with him when he is wrong. This saying is not wrong." The sages taught and educated people, and passed down countless scriptures. This was originally to open up the people's wisdom and to educate them, but not to teach a world full of echoes. If someone can point out his mistakes, the sages will only be happy. Zhao Junchen looked at Zhu Yi and said in a low voice, "However, even if you dare to reason with the sages, it does not mean that you are definitely right and the sages are definitely wrong. There are many people in this world who are stubborn and think that they are infallible." Zhu Yi smiled faintly. "The truth will eventually prove who is right and who is wrong. It cannot be erased with just a few words. Even if it cannot be proven right now, the answer will eventually be given in the future." A smile also appeared on Zhao Junchen's face. "That makes sense. Now, let us first discuss another matter." He was originally sitting on the grass, but now he stood up and stepped on the ground. The white clouds flowed and turned into a carriage that lifted him up. Zhao Junchen let out a long laugh and rushed toward Zhu. Zhu Yi did not dare to let his guard down when the other party rarely took the initiative to attack. He could clearly feel that Zhao Junchen was not angry or impulsive, but excited. His mental state had reached its peak, and it was as if his thoughts were flowing like a spring. In this state, Zhao Junchen would undoubtedly display the strongest side of his strength. In reality, Zhao Junchen was indeed very excited. On one hand, it was because he was arguing with Zhu Yi, and on the other hand, it was because of the Dao music dance that Zhu Yi had performed earlier. Zhao Junchen naturally knew this dance as well. He had comprehended a set of spells from each of the 6 music. What he did not expect was that Zhu Yi had actually imitated him and returned a move of martial music against his Shaolu. Zhu Yi had only watched him use defense and shooting before personally coming into contact with music. Yet, Zhu Yi could already comprehend the essence of this spell. As the original author, Jiao Junshin naturally knew that Zhu Yi's martial music was actually different from his own martial music. It was different, but fundamentally speaking, there was no difference. They both originated from the Dao, a music dance of the six ancient music. In addition to showing that Zhu Yi's cultivation and comprehension were extraordinary, it also showed that Zhu Yi himself had a very deep understanding of the six arts of Confucianism. Jiao Junshin couldn't help but be excited by this discovery. There was no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. Sometimes, the contest between scholars was even more intense. Jiao Junshin used the shooting and defense techniques. It was as if he was on a hunt, launching wave after wave of attacks at Zhu. At this time, Zhu did not simulate the shooting and defense spells to counterattack. Instead, he used his own Taoist techniques to fight with Jiao Junshin. He remembered Lin Feng's guidance and did not entangle himself in the minor details of the spells. Instead, he seriously comprehended the concept of Jiao Junshin's Taoist techniques. From the very beginning, when the two sides exchanged blows with music and dance, the people outside the hidden dragon pot were confused. This time, without Zhu Yi's explanation, many people actually could not understand the knack of it. Cultivators with a higher cultivation base could at least see the ins and outs of the battle from the changes in the magical power between the two sides. Those with lower cultivation bases were completely confused. Shi Shaoqian was born in the royal family of the Great Qin dynasty. Although he was a collateral descendant, he had received a lot of education. However, he had focused on cultivation since he was young and was not interested in etiquette and culture. Now that he was watching the battle between Zhu Yi and Jiao Junshin, he felt like he was looking at flowers through a fog. Although he could see more than other foundation establishment cultivators, it was only half of it and he didn't know much about it. Imperial sister, doesn't Mr. Jiao have the upper hand? Shi Shaoqian could not help but ask when he saw Shi Xingyun frowning. Shi Xingyun came to a realization and shook her head gently. No, Jiao Junshin has the upper hand now. He has the initiative in the battle. Shi Shaoqian asked curiously, then why do you look so worried? Shi Xingyun sighed softly. Zhu Yi is more difficult to deal with than me, Jiao Junshin, and even more outstanding than everyone expected. She raised her head to look at the light projected from the mouth of the hidden dragon pot and murmured, during the process of fighting with Jiao Junshin, he is trying to figure out Jiao Junshin's Dao law and divine powers. Most importantly, he has really learned something. This is really surprising. He is at a disadvantage not because he is weaker than Jiao Junshin, but because he is multitasking and doing other things. Shi Shaoqian was stunned. He wants to learn the secret Dao law of the ancient Confucian sect? He is not just trying to learn it. From the looks of it, he is just using it as a reference. He wants to use the experience of others to improve himself. Shi Xingyun's eyes flashed with worry. That is why it is so scary. Zhuge Guang also transmitted his voice to Dao Master Chang'e. Zhu Yi has accumulated enough. Now that he is trying to figure out Jiao Junshin's Dao law, it is as if he is about to break through the cocoon and become a butterfly. With the help of Jiao Junshin's Dao law, he is about to break through the last layer of membrane. Dao Master Chang'e nodded with a solemn expression. He no longer looked at the hidden dragon pot, but at Lin Feng on the other side. He saw Lin Feng's expression was incomparably calm as he watched the ongoing competition. There was even a faint satisfied smile at the corner of his mouth. Everything that is happening now is already within the expectations of the master of the celestial sect of wonders. It may even be his intention. Dao Master Chang'e shook his head and smiled bitterly. Where did the Xianmen Tianzong come from? There is not a single moment that does not surprise me. In the hidden dragon pot, Jiao Junshin had already sensed it. He smiled and said, although I am happy to help others achieve their goals, I do not want to be a stepping stone for others. As he spoke, Jiao Junshin's attacks became more and more violent. Zhu Yi, who was already at a disadvantage, was in a difficult situation. Zhu Yi's heart slightly moved. He suddenly found that it was more and more difficult for him to resist Jiao Junshin's attacks. In the end, it almost reached the level of difficulty. Jiao Junshin seemed to be able to see through Zhu Yi's thoughts. He made targeted arrangements in advance and even laid a trap, waiting for Zhu Yi to step into it himself. Zhu Yi looked over and saw that Jiao Junshin was muttering something. His eyes were constantly flickering as if he was constantly calculating something. So this is the number method? Zhu Yi was suddenly enlightened. The last art of the 6 arts of Confucianism was number, which was the way of numerology. The spell that Jiao Junshin had comprehended from it was a supernatural power that allowed him to continuously calculate the opponent's movements. Chapter 326. Jiao Junshin can't read minds. It's impossible for him to see through what Zhu Yi is thinking. But he uses the art of calculation to perform thousands of calculations in the blink of an eye, deducing all kinds of actions and responses that Zhu Yi might choose. Every type of thinking is ranked according to its probability from highest to lowest, from there determining the path that Zhu Yi is most likely to choose to walk. Then Jiao Junshin resolutely targets it. Under his targeted attacks, it seems like he can see through the thoughts in Zhu Yi's heart. Other than the attacks of the 2 arts of shoot and defend, Jiao Junshin also uses his finger as a pen, randomly scribbling in the air, writing down word after word. The words condensed in the air and did not disperse, condensing all kinds of principles and mana, attacking towards Zhu, either the word trap, trapping Zhu Yi's movements, or the word stagnate, making the flow of Zhu Yi's mana become difficult and sluggish. There are all kinds of mana words, each with their own uses. This is the book, technique he comprehended from the 6 arts of Confucianism. Each word is a spell. Jiao Junshin's attitude is leisurely, casually waving his hands, spells after spells appear one after another. Zhu Yi's heart moved slightly. The head manager of the House of the Marquis of Xuanji also entered the path through words and calligraphy. The spell technique he cultivated is called the Celestial Talisman. It's quite similar to this Jiao Junshin's book, technique. Zhang Hai is a Yuanying stage cultivator. Purely in terms of the power of words and spells, he is above Jiao Junshin, but in terms of the exquisiteness of the spells, Jiao Junshin even surpasses him. This person's attainments in calligraphy are higher than Zhang Hai's. Right now Zhu Yi's mind is moving, strange and wonderful thoughts come one after another. He even has the mind to think about some things that are completely unrelated to the battle in front of him. But these messy thoughts do not cause his thoughts to become chaotic. Instead it causes ideas to continuously flash through his mind. Even though he is being suppressed by Jiao Junshin, facing Jiao Junshin's endless spell attacks, Zhu Yi is like a small boat continuously bobbing up and down in the raging waves, as if the next wave will capsize him. However, Zhu Yi's expression did not show the slightest hint of panic. Instead, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were filled with joy. At this moment, he was like a piece of beautiful jade wrapped in a thin layer of stone, and Jiao Junshin was like a craftsman, peeling off the outer layer of stone bit by bit, revealing his true brilliance in front of the world. Others couldn't see it, but when Zhu Yi looked inside his own divine soul, he could clearly see that there seemed to be a flame burning in his divine soul. It was not a flame made of magic power or spiritual energy, but a mysterious fire of wisdom that was invisible to the naked eye and undetectable to the soul. Only Zhu Yi himself could see it. These flames of wisdom began to burn, continuously cleansing Zhu Yi's own soul. They were also smelting, breaking down, and refining all of the knowledge Zhu Yi had learned since birth, carefully analyzing and continuously comprehending. Tao, divine abilities, poems and scriptures, as well as what he had seen and heard in his daily life, various comprehensions of the great Tao of heaven and earth, and sometimes some strange and wonderful ideas that suddenly popped up in his mind. At this moment, under the burning of the flames of wisdom, they were constantly broken down and comprehended, and then combined together in various ways. Among everyone present, besides Lin Feng who had long since expected this, the one who had the most accurate grasp of Zhu Yi's current state was Jiao Junshin, who was fighting with him in an earth-shattering battle in front of him. Jiao Junshin was unable to completely see through Zhu Yi's current changes, but he himself had the same experience. In the past, when he cultivated with the Tao of the ancient Confucian sect, the state when he comprehended the Tao was extremely similar to the state Zhu Yi was in front of him. After the accumulation of the Tao to the extreme, a major transformation occurred. This allowed Zhao Junshan to vaguely realize that Zhu Yi's current state had already reached a critical juncture. The carp leaping through the dragon gate, everyone is envious, but how many people have noticed that the vast majority of carps can't leap over that threshold? Zhao Junshan smiled slightly. Since you want to borrow my strength, then I might as well help you. But I don't know, are you a carp or a dragon? Zhao Junshan put his palms together, and his momentum was completely different. White clouds kept surging, and a faint shadow was formed in front of Zhao Junshan. This shadow was wearing a high crown and ancient clothes, with a square face and a rather ancient style. It was at least 100 feet tall, and a powerful force came out from it. This was etiquette and also reason. It integrated the spirit and beliefs of thousands of scholars in the world, and countless willpower blended, like a totem. The first of the 6 arts of Confucianism, etiquette. Zhao Junshan said solemnly, "Guest." With his voice, the 100 feet tall shadow solemnly bowed to Zhu Yi, and the rolling momentum pressed down, majestic but not strict, making people admire it. Guest etiquette, one of the 5 etiquettes, was used during the court meeting. It was the etiquette ceremony for the emperor to entertain the feudal lords and the envoys sent by the feudal lords to greet the king of Zhou. Zhao Junshan's bow was not only to welcome Zhu Yi, who was invited to the spell meeting as the representative of the Qin dynasty, but also to establish the relationship between the host and the guest. He firmly controlled the initiative, further controlled the situation, and set the victory, so that Zhu Yi would be convinced without a fight. Zhu Yi said gladly, "Thank you for your hospitality, fellow cultivator Jiao." In the face of Zhao Junshan's most powerful etiquette spell of the 6 arts, Zhu Yi was not afraid at all. Not only was he not suppressed, but his spirit was further transformed. He was baptized by the ancient etiquette and felt the ancient atmosphere, so that he had a more accurate grasp of the various principles he comprehended. In Zhu Yi's eyes, there seemed to be light extinguished, and the next moment, it became even more dazzling. His left eye suddenly turned pitch black, and the white of the pupil disappeared, like the most quiet dark abyss. His right eye, on the other hand, emitted a strong light. It was dazzling without any warmth, but the purest, most primitive, and brightest light. In the next moment, in the extreme darkness of Zhu Yi's left eye, a bright light suddenly shone, turning into the most extreme light, penetrating the heavens and the earth, and illuminating the ages. The light in his right eye suddenly retracted, turning into boundless darkness, like the arrival of the eternal night, swallowing everything in the world. The extreme darkness gave birth to light, and the extreme light gave birth to darkness. Zhu Yi displayed the 2 powers of light and darkness at the same time, and then reversed the light and darkness, producing a strong power that was close to twisting and tearing. This twisting and tearing power did not feel violent at all, but made people feel a wonderful meaning of noble temperament. Zhu Yi freely controlled this power, turning it into mottled words in the space. The light and darkness were mixed, and it seemed messy, but the light and darkness did not interfere with each other. The brightest light and the most quiet darkness were clearly separated, but they blended into one. These words kept on rearranging themselves in the air, as if forming an incomparably complex giant matrix, but also like a brilliant essay on morality. Just as it was formed, it shook Zhao Junshan's 30-meter-tall figure, causing it to tremble nonstop, showing signs of collapsing. In the process of Zhu Yi's essay forming, there were faint sounds of beautiful music, birds singing, and spring water flowing. Zhao Junshan's face showed surprise for the first time. "This essay of yours is enough to make the ancient sages exclaim in admiration. It is the most perfect combination of the aura of literature and the power of Tao." "Good, good, good." Zhao Junshan nodded and praised. "In the great Zhou dynasty's imperial examination next year, if you can't pass, I really can't think of anyone who can surpass everyone else and win." The other spectators could only feel that Zhu Yi was about to use an extraordinarily powerful technique, But only Jiao Junshin could truly understand the concept and theory behind this technique. Jiao Junshin's praise didn't make Zhu Yi happy, instead, he was full of regret. Unfortunately, I still haven't accumulated enough. In front of Jiao Junshin, Zhu Yi didn't hide anything. I can't finish this essay right now, I can only make a beginning. That's really a pity. Jiao Junshin also sighed. But, even so, your essay is already extraordinary enough. As he said this, Jiao Junshin's hand seals changed. Etiquette is not enough to deal with your essay. Under the activation of his mana, the 30-meter-tall figure suddenly straightened its back, its body expanded again, growing taller and taller, until it was 100 meters tall, wearing a high hat and ancient clothes, standing tall. Auspicious! Jiao Junshin shouted. The 100-meter-tall figure solemnly bowed, its aura shocking. There were 6 arts in Confucianism, with etiquette ranked first. There were 5 rites, with auspicious being the highest. Auspicious was the top of the 5 rites. It was a sacrificial ceremony for gods, earthly spirits, and ghosts. Sacrifice to ghosts, sacrifice to the previous king, ancestors. Sacrifice to the previous king, ancestors. Sacrifice to the spring temple, autumn tasting, and enjoyment to the previous king, ancestors. Jiao Junshin's expression was solemn. The 100-meter-tall figure in front of him worshipped again, its aura rising again. Sacrifice to the earthly spirits, sacrifice to the state, sacrifice to the 5 mountains, sacrifice to the forest, sacrifice to the hundreds of things in the 4 directions, sacrifice to the small gods. Jiao Junshin put his hands together, worshipping for the 3rd time with the 100-meter-tall figure. The wind and clouds in the entire space of the hidden dragon pot surged. The will of heaven and earth seemed to be added to his body, causing him to exude a spirit of being one with heaven and man, controlling the heavens. Sacrifice to the gods, the ruler of the heavenly Tao, sacrifice to the sun, moon, and stars, sacrifice to Si Zhong, Si Ming and Yushi. Under the auspicious ceremony, the infinite Tao suppressed, actually suppressing Zhu Yi's astonishing essay to the point that it couldn't be completed. Light and dark characters kept flying, but it couldn't continue writing. Under such circumstances, Jiao Junshin's personal state, be it his mana, supernatural power, or spirit, reached an unprecedented height. His expression was solemn. Stepping on the cloud chariot, there was the faint sound of phoenixes, heading straight towards Zhu. In the process of the cloud chariot form, Jiao Junshin sang. His feet stepped on the mysterious steps, actually dancing on the cloud chariot. When Zhu Yi saw his dance steps, his body shook slightly. This is the dance of the Cloud Gate? The oldest of the 6 music, the Cloud Gate Great Scroll, is rumored to have been lost long ago. Only the name remains. I didn't expect to see it again today. Jiao Junshin rode the cloud chariot, playing the music of the Cloud Gate. Waving his right hand, word after word appeared in the air. They were the 6 words of Li, music, archery, imperial, book, and number. He also used the art of calculation, continuously calculating Zhu Yi's countermeasures. Beam after beam of light arrows shot out, all of them aimed at Zhu Yi. The spells looked messy. There was a possibility that the power was divided, but all of this, under the support of the auspicious ceremony's power concept, reached a perfect unity. The 6 arts merged into one, covering the sky and earth as they attacked Zhu Yi. It was like the heaven and earth flipped. The entire world turned into a surging flood, filled with an unstoppable feeling. Zhu Yi looked around. He actually had the feeling that he was alone, surrounded by enemies. Chapter 327. Jiao Junshin's 6 arts were displayed at the same time, but there was not the slightest feeling of chaos. Instead, they were condensed together to form an irresistible and powerful concept of power. At this moment, the spiritual will of thousands of Confucian scholars and sages of the past and present seemed to have merged with him, adding to his body and forming a force. Force, unstoppable, undefiable. In the face of this attack, the article written by Zhu Yi's light and dark characters was on the verge of collapse, and he could not continue writing. The people watching the battle from outside the hidden dragon pot might not be able to understand the force created by Jiao Junshin, but they could all feel the power of his attack this time. That kind of unstoppable force shocked the hearts of every spectator. Even many of the Yuanying ancestors changed their expressions in the face of this attack. Their hearts were shaken, and they were anxious and fearful. Cultivators who were at least in the middle stage of Yuanying cultivation could remain unshaken at this moment, but all of their faces were solemn. Song Qingyuan's eyes stared at the hidden dragon pot. It seems that Zhao Junshan is still better. In this battle, Zhu Yi has lost, and so has Xianmen Tianzong. At this moment, his heart was a little heavy, and he also felt a little regretful. Although it could be seen that Zhao Junshan was able to display the unity of heaven and man today and fuse the attack with the general force, it was mostly due to Zhu Yi's stimulation. However, the strength that Zhao Junshan had displayed made Song Qingyuan not confident that he could deal with it. At the same time, Song Qingyuan was also regretful that the one who broke the legend of Xianmen Tianzong was not him after all. This glory would belong to Zhao Junshan. Even Tiny Tot, Yu Hongyan, Yang Qing, and other disciples of Xianmen Tianzong looked at the hidden dragon pot with worried expressions. The pressure that Zhao Junshan's move brought to them was too great. Master! Yang Qing looked at Lin Feng anxiously, but she saw that not only was Lin Feng not worried, but there was also a smile at the corner of his mouth. Lin Feng glanced at his disciples and chuckled, "Your second senior brother won." When the surrounding people heard these words, they were all stunned. Then they saw Zhu Yi in the hidden dragon pot, facing Zhao Junshan's power that could overturn the heavens. He was not afraid at all. Instead, step by step, he walked towards him. The general trend of the mortal Tao has never been to adhere to ancient customs and go with the flow. Zhu Yi moved forward step by step in a neither hurried nor slow manner, yet he was filled with an unshakable resolution. As he moved forward, streams of black and white magical power gushed out and weaved into a huge altar under his feet. Black and white intertwined. Dazzling rays of light intertwined with dark and gloomy black lines, forming lines that resembled the orbits of the stars in the sky. Together, they forged a huge altar. The altar was like a mandala flower, yet it was not a mandala flower at the same time. The concepts of light and darkness had reached a perfect balance. Zhu Yi stood on the altar and faced Zhao Junshan. He said in a clear voice, "To carry on the past and open up the future, to keep moving forward, this is the general trend of the mortal Tao. This is the trend that we scholars pursue, the truth that we seek." With his left hand behind his back, he wrote in the air with his right hand. Light and dark characters danced in the air. The unfinished article was completed in one go, and the first paragraph was completed. Although this was only the beginning of the entire article, a vast essence chi spread out. Its brilliance covered the sun and moon. It was powerful but not cold. It didn't have the slightest bit of offensive or threatening power. However, everyone who saw it couldn't help but want to obey it. A martial arts cultivator's chi and blood were condensed to the extreme. Their chi and blood were masculine, and their bodies glowed red like the sun rising from the east. However, this paragraph written by Zhu Yi was overflowing with literary chi. His spirit was infused into his words, and every word was full of wisdom. At this moment, Zhu Yi's entire body was full of literary chi, and he did not let Zhao Junshan have the slightest advantage. Zhao Junshan's literary chi was condensed on top of his head, and a pillar of chi shot up to the sky. It was condensed and did not dissipate. Countless characters appeared in the pillar of chi, and they turned into magnificent chapters. At this moment, Zhu Yi released the literary chi that had been suppressed in his body. It was vast, and it spread everywhere, as deep as the sea. Everyone who came into contact with this literary chi could comprehend the truth of sages and sages. All people, regardless of whether they were virtuous or foolish, could receive enlightenment. The immortal poem formed by light and dark characters collided with Zhao Junshan's 6 arts. There was no intense collision, and there was no earth-shattering sound. There was only one side being utterly defeated, and it collapsed in the blink of an eye. Zhao Junshan looked calmly at the hundreds of feet tall figure above his head. It was like a dangerous building was slowly collapsing. He dispersed his transcendence energy and cupped his hands towards Zhu Yi, bowing sincerely. "I've learned a lot. Fellow Taoist Zhu has the great ambition of enlightening the people, and you're also able to combine knowledge with action. I'm inferior to you, so I've lost this competition. Zhu Yi did not have the slightest arrogance, and he solemnly bowed back. If I achieve anything in the future, I will not be able to do without Taoist Jiao's efforts today. Outside the hidden dragon pot, a portion of people watched the conversation between Zhu Yi and Jiao Junshin, and they fell into deep thought. Understanding one technique, understanding all techniques. Every great Tao was connected to the heavens. Although they still had many things they did not understand after watching the battle between Zhu Yi and Jiao Junshin, they had already touched the bottleneck of their own cultivation, and they had more comprehensions that they did not usually have. Lin Feng and the other big shots saw all of this, and they all knew what was going on. The disciples who had gained from watching this battle were the group of people with higher comprehension in their respective sections. What made Lin Feng satisfied was that everyone in his sect felt something. Tiny Tot and Yu Hongyan's eyes were faintly flickering, and it was obvious that they had gained a lot. The mana in Yang Qing's entire body surged, and the wind in his ocean of qi surged. On top of his beer, a faint shadow of a pill cauldron condensed. It was actually because of the comprehension he gained from this battle. He had the intention of breaking through the middle stage of foundation establishment, and was about to advance to the late stage of foundation establishment to condense the pill cauldron. Lin Feng glanced at him, and his majestic will pressed down, allowing Yang Qing to compose himself and interrupt the process of condensing the pill cauldron. Yang Qing suddenly woke up and looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng said lightly, "You have the foundation of the 8 trigrams great scripture of the heavens and the lunar truth. Wait until you have comprehended the other Tao technique that I passed to you before, then it will be the time for you to condense the pill cauldron." Thanks to Master's reminder, disciple was reckless. Yang Qing immediately understood and couldn't help but feel a little guilty. He nodded repeatedly. Disciple will cultivate diligently, build a solid foundation, and will never advance rashly again. Lin Feng laughed. Silly boy, don't overdo it. Master can't be more than happy that you have such comprehension. Yang Qing blushed and smiled. Lin Feng looked at Zhu in the hidden dragon pot. Today is not the time for you to break through to the late stage of foundation establishment, but someone has already accumulated enough, and when the conditions are right, he can naturally push open the door in front of him. He said to Shi Zhongyue, Prince Anliang, I have a presumptuous request, I hope you can fulfill it. Shi Zhongyue's expression was slightly complicated, and he was also looking at the hidden dragon pot. After hearing what Lin Feng said, he pondered for a moment, and then said with emotion, if so, it can be considered a good story for this spell assembly, I don't mind fulfilling it. Lord Changle and Lord Gambling Lord Zhuge Guang were silent, and their eyes were looking at the hidden dragon pot. Both of their eyes flashed with a complicated and incomprehensible light. The other primordial spirit big shots also looked at the hidden dragon pot with different expressions. Lord Blue Thunder had a smile on his face, while Northern Militant Prince Zhuxian and Glorious Sun Sword Venerable had complicated expressions. Heavenly Pool Sect Master Chao Wei frowned slightly. And Hua Family Master Huaxiu and Celerita's Sword Sect Master Light Sword Venerable were both expressionless. In the time it took to say these words, Zhu Yi was sitting cross-legged in the hidden dragon pot, on the altar formed by the light and dark mandala heaven's enchantment. Waves of mana surged out from his body, floating around his body. The huge amount of spiritual energy in the hidden dragon pot was continuously absorbed by Zhu Yi into his body. With Shi Zhongyue's tacit consent, the hidden dragon pot did not stop him from doing this, and instead adopted a laissez-faire attitude. Inside Zhu Yi's body, the golden elixir that was divided into two, one side was shining brightly, the other was dark and deep, silently circulating. Boom! From the Yongquan point at the bottom of his feet, a raging yin fire suddenly ignited. The fire instantly swept his whole body, and finally converged on his light and dark golden elixir, burning non-stop. Outside the hidden dragon pot, the originally inexplicable people all stared with their eyes wide open. The foundation establishment stage cultivators still didn't know what was going on, but the Golden Elixir period cultivators and Yuanying stage ancestors finally understood. Zhu Yi actually directly triggered the Yin fire tribulation after the battle with Jiao Junshin. From the early Golden Elixir period cultivators to the middle Golden Elixir period, they had to go through the Yin fire tribulation. If they could pass through it, they would reach the middle Golden Elixir period. With the help of the Yin fire, they would remove all the impurities and dregs in their Golden Elixir, and from then on, they would know that it was another realm. But if they couldn't pass through it, then they would end up being burned by the Yin fire, instantly burning themselves to ashes. Looking at Zhu Yi, almost everyone had a thought in their mind: madman. No matter which early Golden Elixir period cultivator, in the face of the Yin fire tribulation, they had to be extremely cautious, adjust their own state to the best, and then dare to go through the tribulation as if walking on thin ice. Even if there were elders watching over them, they had to be extremely careful. But Zhu Yi actually chose to break through the tribulation after a fierce battle with a strong enemy like Jiao Junshin. In the eyes of many people, it was really arrogant to the extreme. Only Lin Feng, Shi Zongyue, and the others knew that the current Zhu Yi was in his best state. Even if his mana was severely depleted, his understanding of Dao techniques and control of his own body were all at the peak of the current realm. He couldn't wait for a moment, any more would be a waste. Therefore, Zhu Yi did not even need to take out the hidden dragon kettle, directly breaking through the realm in the kettle. It felt like an extremely long time, but also like a short moment. Zhu Yi, who was sitting with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a pure smile like that of a child. With a wave of his hands, the 8 phenomena of heaven, earth, wind, thunder, water, fire, mountain, and lake suddenly condensed around him. Above the 8 trigrams, 2 auras, one black and one white, circled, light and dark intertwined, modeled and changing. These phenomena were not the manifestation of Zhu Yi's own mana, but the condensation of different types of spiritual qi that he extracted from the space within the hidden dragon kettle. Knowing to connect with heaven and earth, he could freely extract the spiritual qi that he needed. Seeing this, everyone knew that Zhu Yi had successfully passed through the Yin fire tribulation, advancing to the middle Golden Elixir period. Coincidentally, at this moment, everyone's eyes kept moving between Tiny Tot, Shi Xingyun, and Song Qingyuan. Now, they were eager to know, after Zhu Yi advanced to the top 4, who would be the unlucky one to be in the same group as him. Chapter 328. Zhu Yi came out of the hidden dragon pot and returned to Lin Feng. He first bowed to Lin Feng, then cupped his fists in the direction of the great Qin dynasty, where Jiao Junshin was. Jiao Junshin returned the greeting, then bowed to Shi Zongyue, Dao Master Chang'e, and Zhuge Guang. He said calmly, "I've also learned a lot from the battle with Zhu. I feel that there are many principles that I have yet to fully comprehend from my previous studies. Therefore, I've decided to go back and study in seclusion for a period of time. I won't be participating in the upcoming Dharma assembly. Please allow me." The crowd was in an uproar. Shi Zongyue and the other 2 looked at each other. Dao Master Chang'e advised, "After the Dharma assembly, you'll still have to enter the ancient desolate sea world to train. The ancient desolate sea world only opens once in 1,000 years. It's a rare opportunity." Jiao Junshin smiled. "I've learned a lot from the battle with Zhu. It's much better than traveling to the ancient desolate sea world. Now is the time to digest and absorb." Shi Zongyue pondered for a moment, then nodded slowly. "If that's the case, you may go." Jiao Junshin bowed to the group of primordial soul realm experts, then looked at Zhu Yi. "I'm looking forward to the news of Zhu Yi participating in the great Zhou dynasty's imperial examination." He turned around and left without hesitation. The crowd at the Dharma assembly was in a heated discussion. They did not expect Zhu Yi's battle to send Jiao Junshin home. Shi Shaoqian was dumbfounded. Mr. Jiao is leaving just like that? The battle with Zhu Yi had such a huge impact on him? Shi Xingyun, who was next to him, smiled bitterly. He looked at Zhu Yi and Tiny Tot and the rest of the people beside him and shook his head. Even though Zhu Yi is only at the intermediate stage of the Golden Elixir realm, he has already made a name for himself and will soon enter a stage of rapid development. Barring any major accidents, no one can stop this person from rising and creating his own legend. Shi Xingyun's point of view was obviously the opinion of the majority of the people present. Everyone had the same feeling. Zhu Yi's influence had already been formed, and he could not be stopped. Looking at Zhu Yi, many golden elixir period cultivators felt a sense of fear. Cultivators who were able to form their jindan, regardless of how talented they were, would not be lacking in mental fortitude. Fear was already quite unfamiliar to them, but looking at Zhu Yi at this moment, they could not help but feel their hearts tremble. When he was in the early golden elixir realm, he could do whatever he wanted in the golden elixir realm. With the help of yuanying artifacts, he could even fight against an early yuanying ancestor. Huaming could be considered a cultivator at the peak of the golden elixir realm, yet he still lost to Zhu. Compared to Huaming, Jiao Junshin was even stronger. He even suppressed Zhu Yi for a while, but he could not avoid losing in the end. This battle even led to the improvement of Zhu Yi's cultivation. Now that Zhu Yi had reached the middle stage of the golden elixir realm, his cultivation and magical power had improved. Who among the golden elixir period cultivators present could be a match for him? Many people even secretly looked at their own yuanying ancestor. The group of yuanying ancestors looked at Zhu Yi with different expressions. Even the great cultivators at the middle stage of the yuanying realm had a serious expression on their faces. Jiao Junshin's last attack in the battle had already made the group of yuanying ancestors look at him in a different light. Yet, Zhu Yi was still able to defeat him. After this battle, Zhu Yi had advanced from the early stage of the golden elixir realm to the middle stage of the golden elixir realm. They had no choice but to pay attention to him. What made most of them even more worried was that an old problem had once again surfaced in their minds, like a dark cloud that densely covered the sky. He already had such amazing strength now. What about when Zhu Yi advanced to the late stage of the golden elixir realm? What would it be like after he formed his nascent soul? Thousands of gazes gathered on the people of Xianmen Tianzong, causing some people to feel despair. It seems, maybe everyone in this sect has such potential and strength? Lin Feng looked at the soaring reputation value in the system and nodded in satisfaction. Very good. This spell gathering was indeed not in vain. He said to Zhu Yi, Shao Yi, sit down and silently adjust your qi circulation and stabilize your foundation. Today is just the beginning. You have accumulated a lot and advanced to the middle stage of the golden elixir realm. This is just the first time you released it. Zhu Yi nodded with a smile. Master's words make sense. I feel the same way. After saying this, he immediately sat down with his legs crossed and nourished the golden elixir that had just passed the Yin fire tribulation. Dao Master Chang'e coughed dryly. During the spell gathering, breaking through the realm immediately after the competition is also considered a good story. Congratulations, sect leader Lin. Lin Feng smiled slightly. I also have to thank Prince Anliang, Dao Master Chang'e, and Dao Master Gambling for their generosity. Sect leader Lin is too polite. Shi Zongyue smiled and turned to look at Dao Master Chang'e. The top 4 have been determined. Let's draw lots for the 4th round. Dao Master Chang'e nodded and waved his hand. 4 names appeared in the air. They were written with the names of Zhu Yi, Shi Tianhao, Shi Xingyun, and Song Qingyuan. Seeing this, the crowd of cultivators in the spell-gathering sighed in unison. Among the top 4, Xianmen Tianzong once again had 2 spots, taking up half of the spots. What was even more shocking was that there were only 2 participants, and both of them had made it to the top 4. Zhu Yi's previous strong performance had made him the most popular candidate for the championship. There was no one else. Shi Xingyun said that Zhu Yi's momentum was already set. At least in this desolate sea spell gathering, Zhu Yi had already demonstrated his domineering attitude. As he stood there, everyone hoped that they would not fight against him. The real boss was treated like a demon. Everyone had to take a detour when they saw him. The cultivators of the Qin dynasty and the Tianqi sect all had some hope in their gloomy faces. They did not want to boost the morale of others and belittle their own, but they sincerely hoped that their own cultivators would not be in the same group as Zhu. Taking 10,000 steps back, even if he could defeat Zhu Yi, he would have to kill 1,000 enemies and die 999 times. Even if they managed to win, they would not be able to compete with the winner of the other group and would have to give up the championship. Now, the common wish of the cultivators of the Qin dynasty and the Tianqi sect was that Tao Master Chang'e would draw Zhu Yi and Tiny Tot into the same group. If it was a monster, then they would let their own monster deal with it. However, some people had different thoughts. They hoped that their own cultivators would be able to draw Tiny Tot. After all, regardless of whether it was Song Qingyuan or Shi Xingyun, the strength that they had displayed before was also quite strong. If the two of them were to really fight in the same group, in the eyes of most people, the outcome would still be very suspenseful. On the contrary, Tiny Tot's previous performance was a bit weaker than the other three, especially when his old injuries had not healed. For example, Shi Xiaoqian thought so, but when he told Shi Xingyun this idea, he was given 2 big rolls of the eyes by his usually dignified and polite royal sister. If you want to fight to your heart's content, then it doesn't matter who you draw. But if you want to enter the finals, then only Song Qingyuan is the most suitable opponent. Shi Xingyun said indifferently, "As for the two of Xianmen Tianzong, let's ask them to settle it internally." Shi Xiaoqian was baffled. "Royal sister, but that Shi Tianhao, even if he recovers from his injuries and returns to his peak state, he might not be your match." Shi Xingyun did not reply immediately. She only stared at Shi Tianhao in a daze. After a while, she said in a low voice, "From the looks of it, that is indeed the case, but I still feel uneasy. Perhaps it's because if Tianhao only has this much strength, then he will never have the chance to seek justice from the dual-pupiled person. The difference between the two of them is simply too great." Shi Xingyun muttered to herself, with the supreme spiritual platform that originally belonged to him, coupled with Shi Tianyi's innate dual-pupiled power, Tianhao himself should know how powerful Shi Tianyi's talent and potential are. However, I can feel a kind of high spirits and carefree confidence from this child. It seems that he is not worried about not being able to seek revenge from the dual-pupiled person. This kind of confidence does not come from his terrifying master, but from himself. At this point, Shi Xingyun became even more confused. If he has this kind of confidence, then his strength should not be as simple as it seems. However, if he is hiding his strength, then the previous battle with Mu Jihai was extremely dangerous. He would have lost if he had made the slightest mistake. Even if he was hiding his strength, he would not have gone to such extremes. Just as Shi Xingyun was pondering, Tao Master Chang'e had already placed all 4 names into the copper bottle. Soon the first name was drawn. It was Tiny Tot's name. The next opponent he drew for Tiny Tot was Song Qingyuan from the Celestial Pool sect. When the lot was drawn, the cultivators of the Celestial Pool sect could not suppress their cheers. From their point of view, the lot was perfect. They could leave Zhu Yi to Shi Xingyun of the Great Qin dynasty to worry about. The Yuanying ancestor and the Golden Elixir elders of the Celestial Pool sect turned around and glared at the young disciples. Wasn't their behavior telling the others that even their own people did not think that Song Qingyuan would be able to defeat Zhu Yi? Although the ancestors and elders secretly heaved a sigh of relief, they still had to put on a show. They could not show weakness to the enemy. Song Qingyuan's expression was calm, without sorrow or joy. In reality, he was reflecting on himself. Zhu Yi is stronger than I expected. I thought I had already overestimated him, but who knew that I had underestimated him? If his opponent in the 3rd round was not Jiao Junshin but me, it would not be easy to deal with him. He looked up at Tiny Tot opposite him. Then, did I underestimate this person before? Although he was seriously injured in the battle with Mu Jihai, it is inevitable that he has some hidden tricks up his sleeves. I wanted to save my trump card for the finals, but now it seems that I have to act according to the situation. I can't hold it back when it's time to use it. As Song Qingyuan was thinking, he suddenly received a voice transmission from his master, Chao Wei. "Qingyuan, I have something for you to do. When you fight against Xianmen Tianzong and Shi Tianhao later, remember one thing." Chapter 329. The list of the top 4 had been announced. Zhu Yi would be fighting against Shi Xingyun. This result caused the Great Qin dynasty to cry out in sorrow. Meanwhile, Tiny Tot would be fighting against Song Qingyuan. In the eyes of many people from the Tianqi sect, it was a great bargain. Lin Feng was secretly amused. He looked at Tiny Tot and said, "Are you ready? The process might be a little intense." "Don't worry, master. This is nothing," Tiny Tot replied with a smile. Lin Feng then turned to Yang Qing and said, "Watch carefully." Yang Qing nodded vigorously. Then she saw Lin Feng make a hand seal with his right hand. Rolling purple qi once again enveloped Tiny Tot. However, this time, there was a faint green brilliance flashing within the purple qi. Shi Zongyue, Chao Wei, and the others naturally saw what Lin Feng was doing. Their eyelids twitched slightly. Lunar true water? It was the lunar true water that was flashing green light within the cyclic purple qi. Lin Feng combined the purple qi with the lunar true water to wash Tiny Tot's body. The spiritual energy contained in the lunar true water nourished Tiny Tot's injured body. Under everyone's gaze, Tiny Tot's mental state had obviously improved. His small body was also surging with vigorous energy. He was recovering to his peak state before he was injured. The lunar true water has such a magical effect? Lord Gambling Zhuge Guang and Lord Changle looked at each other. The two primordial soul experts pondered for a moment before shaking their heads. Although the lunar true water can nourish life, I've never heard of it having a miraculous healing effect. This should be Xianmen Tianzong's unique Taoist technique. It has such an effect after combining it with the lunar true water. Shi Zongyue did not speak, but his heart was in turmoil. An unfathomable leader, a domineering and troublesome immortal cave abode, an amazing disciple, and now a mysterious and exquisite Taoist technique. How much more extraordinary power does Xianmen Tianzong have hidden under the water? When Lin Feng retracted the technique, Tiny Tot reappeared in front of everyone. He was 100 times more energetic than before. Apart from the fact that his breathing was not smooth, it was obvious that he had been seriously injured. He was no different from before. This made all the cultivators of the Tianqi sect curse. Obviously, Lin Feng and Tiny Tot had held back on purpose when Tiny Tot was fighting against Li Dongtao and Yun Mei from the Sun and Moon Swordsmanship sect. As a result, the originally soft persimmon had instantly become a tough bone. However, Chao Wei and Song Qingyuan both relaxed at the same time. If this is your hidden trump card, then there's no need to worry. Despite of that, Chao Qingyuan, Chao Wei and Song Qingyuan, one of Xian. The sect, Tian sect Tian of Qin Feng 111, sect, Tian 1, Feng, Yang, sect, Tot. Lin Feng, Tox Feng, sect Lin He Feng, sect Lin. I Tian. Lin of Tian of Lin Tot. His expression did not change as he said calmly, "Oh? If Sect Master Chao is interested, I can accompany you at any time. I wonder what Sect Master Chao is willing to bet this time?" Chao Wei said, "Just like before, we will decide each other's wager. What do you think, Sect Master Lin?" Lin Feng replied, "Then what does Sect Master Chao want this time? Could it be that you have taken a fancy to a rock on my Jade Capital Mountain?" That's right. Lin Feng was slightly moved. Chao Wei is so obsessed with Jade Capital Mountain's rock, but it's not because he wants it. Could it be that he was asked by someone to obtain it for someone else? This is interesting. Who could it be? While thinking, Lin Feng agreed without a care. "Sure, but if your disciple loses, I want a pair of soaring snow plume from your Tianqi sect, one male and one female." Lin Feng glanced at Chao Wei and said slowly, "2 soaring snow plume kings, both at peak demon commander level. I know your Tianqi sect has them." Chao Wei slightly furrowed his brows, but before he could say anything Lin Feng cut him off. "I'm already being merciful by not taking your pair of flying snow plume kings. If you're not willing, then the bet is off." Soaring snow plume kings were spiritual birds born in the Tianqi mountain. They were small and no different from ordinary sparrows, but they were extremely powerful in combat. They were the best of the demon race. The male birds were called soaring snow plume kings, while the female birds were called heavenly snow plume kings. They always lived in pairs and were much closer than the sword companions of the Sun-Moon Sword sect. Regardless of gender, as long as one of them died, the other would definitely die for love. Therefore, this kind of spiritual bird was very rare. Fortunately, this race's reproductive ability was not bad, but only the Tianqi sect could raise soaring snow plume kings with high cultivation. The only pair of soaring snow plume kings and heavenly snow plume kings in the world lived in the Tianqi sect. Demon King level soaring snow plume kings were unique, and peak Demon Commander level soaring snow plume kings were also extremely rare. They were the focus of protection in the Tianqi sect. Chao Wei only hesitated for a moment, then nodded and agreed, "Okay, but in this way, you have to add icy fire corporeal. If you agree, the bet is set." "No problem." Lin Feng also nodded his head in satisfaction. Turning his head, he saw the little guy's pair of big watery eyes filled with hearts, wanting to rush up and hug him and kiss him fiercely. "Master, you're really too good to me." Brat. How could Lin Feng not know what this little glutton was thinking? He couldn't help but feel angry and funny at the same time. Poking his head with his finger, he used mana to communicate, "Don't just think about eating, this is for you to use for cultivation." The little guy was slightly stunned. A pair of spiritual birds, and they're only peak demon commanders, what are they helping me cultivate for? Movement techniques and escape techniques? Lin Feng smiled, "You'll know when the time comes. Don't worry about what it's for, just try your best to win first." The little guy grinned, "Master, don't worry, just watch me." Lin Feng thought for a moment, then said, "If Master is saying if that Song Qingyun also asks to fight with you, don't worry about what he wants, just agree to it." The little guy blinked and smiled, "Of course, don't worry about what the bet is, I'll win in the end anyway." With that, the little guy jumped into the dragon concealing pot, where Song Qingyun was already waiting for him. Seeing the little guy also come in, Song Qingyun suddenly smiled and said, "My master and the master of your sect's mysterious gate made a bet. We disciples should also join in the fun." As soon as he said this, he immediately noticed that the little guy was sizing him up with a very strange gaze. Song Qingyun was a little startled and thought, "Is there something wrong with what I said?" Just as he was feeling puzzled, the little guy laughed, nodded, and said, "No problem, what do you want to bet?" Song Qingyun was baffled by his laughter, but he still composed himself and continued, "My junior brother fought with you before, and when you made the bet, you mentioned that my junior brother didn't have a Yuanying realm magic tool." He flipped his palm, and a pure white, ancient round mirror appeared in the air. The entire mirror seemed to be made of ice. As the mirror light flashed, the space inside the dragon concealing pot fluctuated like water waves. Impressively, it was a genuine Yuanying realm magic tool. Song Qingyun said, "This is my Yuanying realm magic tool, the Ice Soul Cold Light Mirror. I will use my Yuanying realm magic tool to bet with your Yuanying realm magic tool. How about it? Do you dare to bet with me?" As soon as he said this, the little guy inside the dragon concealing pot had not yet spoken, but outside the dragon concealing pot, there was already a discussion. Many spectators were whispering. No one thought that Song Qingyuan's gambling spirit was so big that he wanted to bet with the little guy on a Yuanying realm magic tool. Their cultivation was only at the golden elixir period realm. In this case, to have a Yuanying realm magic tool in their hands, either their luck was extremely heaven-defying, or they were heavily cultivated by the sect, and were specially bestowed with a Yuanying realm magic tool to protect themselves. For a golden elixir period cultivator, a Yuanying realm magic tool was simply a treasure that was as precious as their lifeblood. It was a killing weapon that could increase one's strength. The Desolate Sea Assembly prohibited the use of Yuanying realm magic tools in the competition between golden elixir period cultivators. This was because the power of such a treasure would completely break the balance in the golden elixir period realm. To put it bluntly, from head to toe, besides himself, everything else in Song Qingyuan's possession was not as valuable as the Ice Soul Cold Light Mirror. Although he said it was not as valuable as himself, it was the result of considering his future potential. If he only considered his current potential, then even if he added himself, it would not be as valuable as the Ice Soul Cold Light Mirror. Song Qingyuan proposed to use the Ice Soul Cold Light Mirror as a bet. The people who were the most shocked were his fellow disciples from the Heavenly Pool sect. Those who were familiar with Song Qingyuan were so shocked that their eyeballs almost fell to the ground. They knew how much Song Qingyuan treasured the Ice Soul Cold Light Mirror. Whoever dared to use it recklessly would be chased to the ends of the earth by Song Qingyuan. Everyone's gaze fell on Xiao Budian. They thought to themselves, "This brat won't go crazy as well, right?" Who would have thought that Xiao Budian would smile and directly nod his head? "All right, I'll bet with you." He clapped his hands, and green light flashed on his body. A small three-legged cauldron separated from his body and floated in midair. It was the bronze void cauldron. Seeing this scene, the spectators outside the hidden dragon pot were all confused. Why didn't these two guys usually have such heavy gambling habits? It was fine if they did not gamble, but once they did, it would be a gambling method that would cause them to go bankrupt. It would not be an exaggeration to say that in this bet between the two of them, the winner would earn a fortune, while the loser would lose so much that he would have to sell his blood. Even if they entered the ancient desolate sea realm, they would not be able to pick up a treasure as valuable as a Yuanying realm magic tool. Compared to the bet between Xiao Budian and Song Qingyuan, the bet between the two masters, Lin Feng and Chao Wei, seemed a bit more petty. Putting aside cultivation, at least in terms of gambling habits, the disciples of both sides had the tendency to surpass their masters. Chao Wei calmly looked at the hidden dragon pot with an indifferent expression. Suddenly, his heart stirred, and he crushed a sound transmission crystal. He used his magic power to communicate with the crystal silently. "How far has the Dharma assembly progressed?" A gentle man's voice came from the other end. "Have you gotten what I want and what you've been dreaming of?" Chao Wei lightly said, "After the previous preparations, success is already within reach. The main show has just begun." You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.